3000.
What is doing? My name's Maloney. This is the 3000 podcast. I'm joined today by a writer, HAZE. Thanks for coming, man.
No worries, bro. Pleasure to be here. Thanks for the invite.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming down. The graffiti episodes are always super interesting. You are an OG of the Melbourne, Australian graffiti scene, so getting into your story is going to be sick, man.
Yeah, bro. As I was telling you earlier, I've get a couple offers here and there, but I usually knock these back. But I like your show, like what you do, like the guests, and like I told you, bro, you know what's up. So it's good as place as any to get it down there. You know what I mean?
I appreciate it, man.
No worries, brother. Doing a good job.
Yeah, thanks, man. It is a hard scene for people to let you in when you're not a part of it, but
Yeah.
I seem to be. People are like, "Oh, this guy's not a kook. He kind of gets it," you know.
Yeah, that's the thing, bro. Obviously people can watch your show and that, but even just talking to you briefly, just meeting you, and I find that with a lot of people, you can tell within quick whether they sort of, you don't have to be full graph educated and shit, but just someone who can, you know what I mean, process what you're trying to say, you know what I mean?
For sure.
Yeah.
And that's it, man. During this process of this show, the last 18 months, I've made heaps of friends with people that you just click with. You're like, fuck.
Yeah, bro.
We get along.
Yeah.
We do this and we'll have a beer or whatever.
Yeah, and that's like, a lot of dudes I grew up with, we're talking, mid-80s, 90s and that. There's only, obviously, very few of them still alive, but I cannot see them for 10, 15, 20 years, bro, and just pick it up where we left off, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's basically that graph, you know what I mean, that bond. We don't sit there talking about graph this and that, but that bond that was formed back then, it never goes away, bro.
Yeah. You snap back to where you left
Yeah,
off.
yeah. You sort of know that person on a level where nothing needs to be said.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. You can sit there and enjoy a silence. And you
Yeah,
both just get it.
exactly. And you can come out with, things that other people look at you fucking sideways, and they're gonna get it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you feel comfortable.
Yeah, exactly, comfortable. Yeah.
So, man, let's talk about your story growing up, how you found hip hop, how you found graffiti, and that sort of thing, man. Whereabouts did you grow up?
Oh, bro, I grew up in Dandenong.
Yep.
We came to Australia in the very early '80s.
Yep.
And straight to Dandenong, fortunately, unfortunately, you could say. Yeah.
So what are we talking? Late?
1980.
80,
Exactly,
right, okay,
1980, yeah.
Right, yep.
And I lived right on, it's people who are from the area will know, Hemmings Park, you got Dandenong High School, which is where I went to high school, directly across the park from there, right? So the flats we lived in looked right onto the park, yeah? So I was 9, I think, when we come here.
Yeah.
8 or 9, something like that. And but from the start, it was I was lucky. That was my first language. So
Where'd you come from?
South Africa. I was born in Cape Town.
Yep.
So that is a big dividing line in my life. You know what I mean? Immigration, a big upheaval in your life, leaving your family. Because my grandma basically raised me. Yeah. And we had a big family sort of compound there, and then sort of coming here just starts before the other relatives started coming over and that, you know what I mean? So that dividing line in my life, I remember a lot from my childhood,
Yeah.
And those years leading up to basically where things started to get all fucked up. That's the only really clear period of life, So,
yeah. But there was a lot going on in South Africa then, and obviously that's why you want to get out.
That's why, the whole apartheid thing and all that, that's obviously the reason we left. And that's always actually been kind of weighed on me a bit, obviously people do it for their kids' future, this and that, you know what I mean? I was the only child. But as with happened with a lot of families at that time, the immigration thing, it took its toll. Yeah. A lot of families fell apart.
You'd have to leave the rest of your family there, sort of thing.
Yeah, and also
extended family.
The financial pressures and now, it's great. People come here. There's so many services. There's so much help, which is wicked, you know.
Yep.
But back then, mate, you're lucky to get a pat on the back and good luck, you know what I mean? Like, you know, and looking back, like when you're a kid, you don't, it's just life, you know what I mean? But looking back, like, you know, we come here with like nothing, you know, like, as I said, like a lot of people, because like, I'm sure you know that time of history, like, you know, a lot of countries, the end of the whole colonial era, this and that, a lot of people in the world, you know what I mean? So there was a lot of, and it was the end of, we came in the first wave when the whole white Australia immigration thing sort of just finished. So about the same time the Vietnamese started coming, you know, so like, yeah, I actually, as I said, because I spoke English, I, you know, sort of found my feet pretty quickly.
Yeah, a lot of people wouldn't have had that luxury.
Yeah. But it's just funny, you know, like I had to fight a lot when I was a kid, because it's just how it was, mate, back then, especially, you know, like being near the country, fucking this, that, the other. But you cop it more off the, like when I say wogs, I don't mean nothing derogatory. It's just how I talk,
Yeah.
But copped it more off like the European immigrants than I did off the Aussies, you know. I click with them like a lot easier. And now, like going for life, you know, you realise what it is. Like the last group turns on the next group. It sort of takes a spotlight off them.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like that's my theory anyway.
What happens all the time.
You know, yeah.
They need someone to blame, sort of thing.
Yeah, someone to blame. And also it's, I don't know if it's subconscious or whatever, but it's literally like shifting, you know, they copped it, shift it. You know what I mean? And like, yeah, so I just thought it was normal, bro. Like, especially said coming from South Africa, that was like hectic. Like, most of my memories of living there, like great with the family and that, but just a lot of hectic shit, you know.
Yeah.
And then we come to Dandy, and it was the end of the whole Sharpie era and that, you know what I mean? Late 70s, early 80s, and I still remember like the hairstyles and that, but that was sort of coming to the end of their run. But like as a kid, like sort of most weekends, the flats we lived in, you know, at night, there's no lights in that. But like, I'd look down at the park and you'd just see these massive fucking gang fights and shit, you know, like this in Dandy, not in South Africa. And it was, you know, it's just kind of fascinating, you know, when you're a kid. But like, yeah, man, that's just like how it was, you know.
Were the gang sort of stuff that you're witnessing as a kid, is that racial or is that territorial?
No, I don't even know, bro. It was like, it was
happening.
literally in pitch darkness, and all you can hear is chicks screaming and dudes fucking yelling and just, you know, full on fucking massive fucking blues, you know what I mean? And I would say it was just local fucking politics, basically, usual shit, because it's, back then it was very tribal.
Yep.
You know what I mean? It was like, everything was tribal, bro. Like you, obviously pre-internet, pre-everything, you know, like you sort of, as a kid, you were attracted to, or however you got there, whatever subculture, basically, you know what I mean? And like everyone else, I don't know, everyone just fought each other, bro. Like different football team supporters would fight each other, different areas would
Boredom
fight
is
each
a
other.
factor, I guess, as well.
Yeah, and but that's just literally how it was, bro. Like you'd go out, like this is when I was a little bit older, on the weekends and that, and like it wasn't a full weekend if there wasn't a massive fucking punch on it at the club or wherever you went, you know what I mean? And it was like expected, like not expected that you do it, but expected it was going to happen.
Yeah.
You know, it was like normal. And that, as you said, back to how I drifted into all this, like my parents split up like about 4 years after we got here. Like I had a lot of, like I said, the whole immigration process wasn't very, you know, so I had a lot of bad problems at home. So I started drifting off, you know. My dad was real strict, but when my mum, like she had to bail, like I just sort of come home from school one day, she was gone because like, mate, he probably would have knocked her, mate, you know what I mean? Like if instead of, because men from that generation, there's like too much of a bruise to the ego or whatever, you know what I mean?
Right.
Rather than let it go, like, I'm not saying he would have, but it would have been nasty, you know? And so I went from that sort of attempted strictness, but I was always, you know, fucking racking. I started racking at a really young age, bro. Yeah. Like just toys, just all kinds of shit, you know.
Whatever.
And yeah, and just I think looking back at my life, like I do have a problem. I've got a very addictive personality. You know, it's like adrenaline junkie, basically. You know, I hate saying that. I don't particularly like that phrase, but it's true.
Yep.
Yeah. And yeah, so after that we moved to Clayton, just me and my dad. Yeah. So I'd have to catch a train I was going to Dandenong High, so I'd have to catch a train, you know, get off at Dandenong station, walk to school, that shit, come back, same way. And back then, everything happened at stations, yeah? Like all the heads, whatever, hung out at the station for some reason.
Well, like mid-80s now, sort of early 80s?
We're talking, mid-80s, yeah,
yeah.
right? Mid-80s, sort of 84, 85. 85, yeah. And that's where you'd see everything go down, especially Dandy Station, the old Dandy Station. Like you'd get off and literally 3 steps was this notorious ass pub, right? Like literally come out of the station and bang, there's the door.
It's not there anymore?
Nah, it's all gone. Behind there was a hotel where all the hookers used to, you know, they'd pick up dudes from the pub, take them around the back, take them there, yeah. And next to the pub was a big club, was it called Foster's nightclub or some shit, yeah. So basically it was just pretty much any time you'd go there, there'd be some fucked up shit happening, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I remember I was coming home from school one day, this would have been, I don't know, would have been 14, 15. There's like all these ambulances there, you know, like just some big punch on, fucking broken shit everywhere. They took about 3 dudes away, and this one dude, like, used to be a subway that went under, like, you know, the other platform.
Yeah, like a viaduct.
Yeah, and steps that go up to the side entrance of the pub, and he was like that pissed, and he's trying to go for the rail, and he's missed it, come off, and I'm sitting on like the little platform watching this, yeah, and just you see this like a watermelon, bro, just exploding, yeah. And fucking, everyone's gone down and had a look. This dude's head is just like his brain's literally leaking out, bro, like pink shit. Just coming out, running down the fucking gutter, bro, down the side, you know, and he's fitting out and shit. And everyone's like spinning out, but as usual, the last dude people think, you know, this dude, skinhead, covered in tats, fucking full boobhead, you know, jailhead, jumps in, starts giving him mouth to mouth, getting him up. And one of the ambulances come back, just literally turf, you know, the 2 dudes out that were from the punch on before. And took this dude away, and I thought, oh, for sure he's dead, you know. But no, I remember about 6, 9 months later, seeing him stumbling around the station, still doing
Didn't learn his lesson.
doing the same shit, bro. Like, yeah, trying to stick his head in everything. But yeah, that's like I said, everything happened there. Like even that nightclub, like Foster's, yeah, like we were too young to get in. But where, if you know Dandy Station, where all the bus stops and that are now, like they used to be a massive car park, yeah. And like Saturday nights, Friday nights, whatever, you know, the kids that were too young, you'd come with someone with a car, whatever, and we'd just sit out the front and watch a fight spot. You know, like, yeah.
Spectate.
Yeah, that's it. Like, fucking, like, and it got to the point where it was almost like organised. Yeah. Like, the bouncers went on it, people would come from other parts of the city, like the fucking, this kind of challenge, that kind of, and we had Wally, one of my mates, he's dead now, he used to write Kingpin, and he was like, grouse breaker, he was like, probably one of the first dudes I knew that was like right into hip hop and even graphing that, yeah. And he was a Golden Gloves champion like twice as sub junior at Victoria.
So he's good at everything.
Yeah, he was just gun, yeah, and a sick fighter too, yeah. And like dudes would come, like I said, from all over the city to challenge him. Like, but the main, you had like the Oakley Wogs, Springy Nips, just this is around our area, yeah. Yeah. And just the general dandy heads, but yeah, never seen him lose, bro. Like I seen him one night, you know, those the old bins, you know, those metal, it's got the metal grates surrounding it. Yeah, I seen him cave this dude one night and literally picked his squash head up and slam him eye first into the like fucking metal grate, bro. Like hectic, bro. No cops had come, nothing, just people come pick up the mesh, that's it, yeah. Cunts getting chucked through windows, all kinds of shit, you know. And yeah, it was just normal, man.
Different world.
Yeah, and the thing was, and then like hip hop started breaking, yeah, like started like break dance and all that, but back then there was four TV channels or something like that, you know. So just you'd get these little dribbles, you know, or like on Triple R. I remember hearing Schoolie D, I think it was, I don't like rock and roll or something for the first time, and it just fucking blew me mind, you know. They just played it
Spoke
one
to
day.
ya.
Yeah, just blew it randomly on Triple R. And then you had like DJ Steve, he was like down with USA Crew and that. He did like, I can't remember if it was every Friday or, you know, every couple of Fridays, whatever. He had like an hour or so, like just hip hop mix show.
Yep.
I remember walking home one day from school, and you know, back then they'd have like the boxes on display. Do you remember Brushes?
Yep.
Yeah, like I'm walking past and you listen, fucking, you know, we walked in listening, and it just blew me mind, bro. Like the mix and the fucking, just everything, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like picture, like pretty much not just Australia, the whole Western world was full on rock, you know, like, and this was just new, you know what I mean, to us anyway. Like even the breaks and that, like, because we weren't familiar with like, you know, late 60s, 70s funk and all that shit, you know what I mean? To us it was new. And it was in a way, you know, even though they were
It was repackaged in a different
even
way.
though, as you get older, you know, that's what happens every 10 or so years. They just repackage the same shit over and over.
Yeah. But sampling was new, and that was different.
Yeah, and it was just, it just spoke to you, as you said, you know what I mean? And, you know, and just in a few movies here and there with the graph, you'd get like snippets, you know, just like you'd see a piece in the background. But the thing that really got me was Rocksteady Crew, like the breaking and that, but like their songs, like, you know, you look at them now, you think it's like, a lot of people would think, oh, it's pretty cringe here. But at the time, that was the shit, bro. You know, like, Hey You, the Rocksteady Crew, Up Rock and that, you know. And, you know, they had heaps of graph in them and, you know, they were sick breakers and shit. And when they toured here, that was actually the first concert I went to, like, in my life, I think.
Where was that at?
At the Glass House, the
Wow.
Melbourne Sports Entertainment Centre, yeah. That was, I think it was 84, 85, maybe.
So to see that in real life, it's like New York comes to Melbourne. You're like, what the fuck?
Yeah. And it was sick, bro. Like, I remember it so clearly. Like we were, just me and one of my mates, we were little, you know, so we were up in the stands, but like looking down, and the whole floor is just all these breaking battles happening, you know what I mean? And remember the band I'm Talking, Kate Sobrano?
Oh, I know Kate Sobrano.
It was her first band. She was like still in her teens, like 18, 19 or something. And they were the support act, and you know, they were pretty good, like sort of a funk, I guess.
Yeah.
And she had like, always remember this, like she had this real long hair, she had her roller skates on, because it's like a wooden floor, you know, and she's just roller skating through, watching all the battles going on and shit, and it was just, yeah, man, like I said, there was nothing like it at the time.
Yeah.
You know, there was nothing like it.
That is like revolutionary entertainment.
Yeah,
like
exactly, exactly, man. Like I said, like now I love rock music. I love a lot of metal. I love all kinds of music now, yeah. But as a kid, sort of just discovering a lot of shit. Like, you know, there's a shit you hear on the radio, you know, the background soundtrack to life, you know what I mean? But this shit was, and I still think it was new, bro. It was, you know, and it sort of spoke to a lot of people, you know what I mean? And we took this shit seriously, man. Like, especially the whole, you know, all the elements and that. Like, some dudes were breakers, some dudes were, you know, no one could really afford decks at the very start. Like, sort of breaking, and from that, a lot of dudes went to writing. Yeah, that's what I did as well. Like, I wasn't like a mad serious breaker, but I was decent. Yeah. And then that sort of died off, you know, and like fucking, I remember being real disappointed because I was sort of too young to click in yet to understand, you know, trends come, trends go. Like, fucking, you think you're going to be doing this shit for life when you're that age, you know what I mean?
Yep.
But anyway, but through that, you got to know, like, a lot of people, you know, who were into it. And then there wasn't yet the Nike wear, none of that shit, the old-fashioned side of it, this and that, like, and basically started moving closer and closer to the city, you know, as in travelling.
Yep.
You know, like we used to go, the only cinemas really was the Hoyts and the Village and that in the city. Yeah. There were others like Forest Hill or Waverley Gardens and that, but the easiest was just to get on a train to the city and go there, you know. And then you start seeing tags, little tags, pieces, this and that. And it's getting more and more and more, you know. And like you could pick them. You could pick. Riders did have, like, I guess you call it like a uniform. You know what I mean? Back then, like, no one intended it, but the blue de bone jackets, or you know the Caribbees, the two-tone Caribbees, like sort of the blue beige on top, shit like that. Like literally, we were the only people who wore them, you know. And it was.
And where would you get them from?
Oh, the blue de bones used to rack them from Aussie Disposals.
Yep.
And the Caribbees, you'd rack them. They were like mint to have, you know what I mean? Hard to get, and you'd rack them from wherever you could get them, bro.
Yeah.
You know, because they were expensive back then. And like, from my way, like we couldn't afford none of that shit. You know what I mean? So you'd rack it. But what I said before about everything being real tribal and that, you know, that was the cool thing about hip hop. Like, no one gave a shit what nationality you were, where you were from, what you did. It was probably dead set the only, probably and metal as well, the only sort of subculture that where it was starting to change, you know, before where, like I said, everything was racially based, this, that, the other.
And even the Sharpies was very sort of white, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah. Why, even the bikies too, right? Like when I was a kid, we knew to give them a wide berth, you know what I mean? Because if you were, they were like ultra racist, bro.
Yeah.
Like if you weren't sort of full white, like yeah, you give them a wide berth, you know. Whereas now that's totally flipped on its head, you know, where they finally realise like that's how you make international connections, mate. You know what I mean? You recruit people with ties to overseas, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's a good thing, you know what I mean? And also, the internet's opened up the world, obviously, you know? Like, but what I used to find with a lot of, as I said, like, generally Australian people, like a lot of them talk a lot more racist than they are. You know what I mean?
The casual racism thing.
Yeah, but it's not a big deal. Like, once they get to know you, that's it, mate. It's sweet, you know? And once you understand that they basically don't mean, obviously not everyone, there are some straight up fucking racist people, but generally they don't mean nothing by it, you know, it's just the way they talk. I even talk like that now, mate, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But, yeah, back to the
break-in, the graph.
The break-in, the graph.
Did you have a crew at this stage?
At this stage, this is how it started, right? I was in year 8, year 9, and Duck Rock, the Malcolm McLaren album, come out, right? And that, man, I just used to sit there for hours just looking at that, like a couple of pieces and tags and that on there, you know, and there's about 2 good tracks on there. The rest was all just shit, you know, but just
it's got Buffalo Girls on it.
Yeah, that was like dope. Even the clip for that, I still love it. You know what I'm saying? And like the beat and shit was fucking mad, yeah. And that was actually the track that had like big murals and shit in there, you know what I mean? And
was that getting played on the TV and shit?
Yeah, it was. Yeah. It was. It actually charted pretty high here, man. Like full on. Quite a lot of the, like I said, Rocksteady crew, you know, like quite a lot of breaking orientated songs, blah, blah, blah. Like actually for that couple of years, sort of 84 to 86, actually charted like really
so
high.
You can get it at brushes and shit then?
Yeah, but really only the shit they were playing on TV and that. There was no real senior, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like even in New York and that, there was like fucking, 5 fucking groups that had a record, you know what I mean? Like Funky 4+1 and shit like that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then I got this this double album, right? It was called Street Beat. It was like, cover was pink, and on the front cover and in the middle, it just had like all photos of Graph, yeah? But like just full ghetto tags and shit like that, you know? Nothing even really good, but it was fucking fascinating, bro. I used to stare at that shit for hours. And like I said to you before, like a big thing that grabbed me to it in the start was just the tags, man. They just fascinated me, you know, just the fucking hand styles, you know what I mean? Pieces too. Yeah. But yeah.
But you weren't seeing much around Dandy and stuff at that stage?
Nah, like there were the, like again, that's jumping on Insta. That's one of the things I like, you know, like a lot of old photos pop up, them old school electro pieces. You know, and the dude I was talking about before, Wally Kingpin, that used to, you know, box and that. Like he was one of the first dudes I knew that did. It was like electro rock or break masters or something like that. Yeah, but big piece, full electro style. Yeah,
mind blowing stuff.
Yeah, it was, bro. It was mind blowing. You know, and a lot of those dudes, no one even knows who they are. You know, a lot of those dudes who did those, like you know, the pics you see like on Insta and that now. Like, mate, he's probably the only dude I know. And the only other name I know did is Baze. like they did a few of those old school pieces, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like no one even knows who those dudes are, bro.
Yeah, because they weren't about writing their name. They were just doing
Nah, it
something
was just
funky.
their
like,
break crew or whatever, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And character of a dude spinning on his head or some shit, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it was fucking like just hypnotising, man, you know, because it was new.
Yeah.
And before that, you had like these two dudes, Max and CJE, whatever, like they were just like bogan dudes, but they'd go around just rolling or painting their names. But they were up, bro. It wasn't graph. It was just literally white paint, like in a few of...
like Dazza was here type stuff.
Yeah,
like
but
that,
just Max, CJE, and there
Yeah.
was someone else, but they were fucking up like right on fucking pretty much every train line, bro.
Do you reckon that was hip hop inspired, or they were just dudes
I
writing their names?
don't know, bro. I don't know. Could be. Like, I never knew... I don't know anyone who knew who they even were, bro. Yeah, like that's it. But you can see in the photos of quite a few of the old pieces, a lot of mine too, you can see their names in the background, you know. And that was like the first dudes I saw that were like up.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't think it was hip hop inspired at all. They were just fucking writing their names, mate, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, and anyway, Breaking died in its ass. You know, a few dudes like Johnny Jewel and that, he kept it up. He was like a sick breaker, bro.
Yep.
Like even, you know, when he was doing the graph and that, like he'd still, like every now and then they'd have a sort of some youth organisation or something would organise something in the city or wherever. You know, they'd get a few breakers up, this and that, and like he always killed it, bro. Him and even like from our crew, Esky, Dyer and that, they're like fucking just next level breakers, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
The thing is with breaking is your body can't do that forever, they can it?
yeah, exactly, man.
It's a young man's game.
Yeah, for sure. And like there's some dudes like you see like Crazy Legs, for instance, yeah, like I still see him on YouTube or whatever, still having a battle here and there, like, you know, he makes his living off it, good for him, like still tours and that, you know, but you can see, mate, like 5 minutes he's huffing and puffing, not even 2 minutes, mate, and he's just doing these lazy moves, but that's his bread and butter, you know what I'm saying? So good on him, you know, but yeah, he was in his day, like I said, going to see that concert out of Rocksteady crew, he was like just, even though every one of them were like sick breakers, he was just like next level.
Yeah.
You know, and that chick, what was the fucking name? Baby Love in Rocksteady crew. Like I just had the maddest crush on her, bro. Like that was probably my first kiddie crush, you know, from like someone on TV. But yeah, went to that concert. That's it. And then yeah, it's, you know, go back to school. Everyone's talking about it, blah blah blah, and met Beware. He's a dude who I just happened to end up in year 7 with. Like he was from Dandenong South.
Yep.
And I was still living in
Clayton.
I think I just moved to Clayton at this time.
Yep.
Like, yeah, because, yeah, I would walk to the station with them to Dandy South because you'd have to go through the station, yeah. So he was a pretty artistic sort of dude, this and that. And anyway, you know, he took a Logan to it and I met Ash, Jags, like, this is all through school. Mm-hmm. And, yeah, we'd do these lame little fucking sketches and basically just copying fucking, you know, things like I said on that Duck Rock album, shit like that, you know what I mean? Yeah. But that's how you learn. Yeah. You know what I mean? And then the Book of Books, Subway Art came out, right? And that just, fuck, mate, that just elevated shit to another level. You know, it was literally, and probably still is, it was like the Bible, bro. Yeah. Dudes you'd literally see, this is like a couple of years down the track, you'd literally see dudes on the train carrying like a copy of it around with them and it'd be like page to the fuck dog-eared, you know what I mean? Yeah. And like, they actually, you probably know this, they actually withdrew it pretty much all around the world because it was too racked out. Yeah, it was too racked out. Like she, I read an interview with Martha Cooper, that was a couple of years ago now, and she was saying like she lost money on that, you know, like because it was, yeah, basically just racked out, you know, and that's what we did. And,
but she made such a contribution to the culture worldwide.
It's
you can't put dollar value on that.
What her and Henry Chalfant did, yeah, you can't. And I don't know if you saw, but she's like in her 70s,
Yeah.
late 60s or something now.
Still taking photos?
Yeah, bro.
Still jumping fences?
Yeah, bro.
Crazy.
I've seen a video of her in Greece or some shit. And these dudes are like...
She's in it for life.
Yeah, bro. These dudes are like fucking... Yeah, like you said, bolt cutting fences and fucking jumping. And she's there with them, mate. You know, like fucking full mission in it, mate. You know,
Yeah.
I saw that. I was like, wow.
That's inspirational to see shit like that, isn't
Yeah.
it? Because she could have just put that book out and then kicked back and done, I've done my part.
Fucking
but the
right.
fact that she's still running around, still
Fucking
actively doing that, it's amazing.
And I mean, first and foremost, I think she's, you know, she sees herself as a photographer, obviously, yeah. And like, it's people like her, even here, that, you know, there was someone like her, like in every city, I think, all around the world. You know, here it was train driver on, right? Like, I don't know if anyone's told you about him.
No.
He was an actual train driver, right? And he was a professional photographer as well, and he loved graph, bro. He'd turn up at the writers' bench. This was before, you know, like the Met clued onto fucking.
So we're talking mid-80s.
We're talking, mid, about 85, 86.
Yeah.
Yeah, he'd be at the writers' bench. He'd stop his train if there was a new piece, jump out, take pics and shit. Like, he passed away recently. I think Ransom inherited his his photos, bro. If you ever get a chance to have a look, he would have just some awesome shit, you know.
Yeah.
And dudes like Andy Taylor and that, you know, like, and there were a couple of people like that. They weren't writers, nothing, but they loved it. They were, like I said, first and foremost photographers or whatever, you know, artistic sort of people. But they were the ones who like fucking record all that shit, bro. Because when our first crew, right, like I said, when we were at school, year 8, year 9, whatever, was Force 3 artists. There was 3 of us, me, Pac, and Ash Jags, yeah? And I used to write Nitro 7, like that was my first tag, because all like me birth numbers and shit were all 7777, yeah, so fucking, yeah, Nitro 7, we did nothing, you know, just a few, like I said, kitty tags, like this high, you know, here and there, and a couple of crazy characters that Pac used to draw, this and that. And Ash, Pac, and Eddie, this dude Eddie Diddy, he started hanging out with us. They lived in Endeavour Hills. And like I said, I was having a lot of problems at home, you know, so I would fucking be up there a lot, you know, like even when we moved to Clayton, my whole life was still down Dandy way, you know.
Yep.
And so I'd be up there a lot, and a couple of streets over, Esky, Dyer, all that old Endeavour Hills crew, they all hung out at this, you know, them electricity boxes?
Yep.
That are like
a substation.
Yeah, like in the ground, and it was just bombed to the fuck, and it looked back then, it looked sick, you know. And it was like this. It was like the boys' playground, you know, like the boxing gloves would come out and fucking, you know, just boys being boys, mate. And, you know, you see like a lot of comedians talking, like Gen X comedians and shit talking about it now, but it really was, bro. We used to like run around shooting at each other with fucking air rifles and having fucking rock wars with rocks the size of your fucking fist.
Because what else do you do?
Yeah, and like...
You make your own fucking fun.
Yeah, exactly, bro, exactly. And even, you know, it's amazing, not just graph and hip-hop and that, but how much shit actually kicked off in that period, bro. Even like BMX, skating, shit like that.
It was
like,
all new. It was all
yeah,
new.
man, like before I got into hip-hop and that, like every day we'd have our push. That's the only thing I had was a fucking decent BMX, you know.
Yeah.
Like I think eventually I got a mongoose, you know, and like we'd go riding every day, make jump shit, and, you know, shit like that, and do just crazy shit, yeah. Mm-hmm. And the skaters, they were the same. This is when they were making like homemade, you know, fucking ramps, this
Whatever
and that.
plywood you could get your hands on.
Yeah, and developing things that became actual tricks and whatever they're doing now.
Yeah.
That's when it all kicked off, bro. Even, you know, there weren't such a thing as mountain bikes and that then, but the whole track riding thing, everything, that's when it kicked off. And yeah, as you said, it was just kids being kids, mate.
Yeah.
And we'd go riding like in the, you know, the canals, you know, dry. And I remember one time, like it started raining, and literally within minutes, them things fill up, yeah. And they got drains in them, but when the water starts running, you can't see the drains, you know. And my mate, his front wheel has gotten stuck in the thing, flipped him over the handlebars, and he just got washed away, bro.
Really?
Yeah, and people are like up on the bridge just watching, you know, and like he got washed like dead set, probably like 3/4 of a kilometre, bro, like up the thing, and he's luckily got out, you know. But shit like that was like funny, you know, like normal. And we used to go the tunnels, the actual underground drains.
Yep.
You know, like there's tunnels that run from like Dandenong Market right up to like Waverley Gardens and that, which is probably about 7 to 10 k's. You know, and you could actually walk or even ride your pushy like right through them. You know, and they branch off and shit. Like shit you'd never want your kids doing. Like even now it scares me to think like what could even been living in them things, bro. You know what I mean? Let alone the fact that it's basically fucking sewage you're riding through, you know what I mean? And like as you went in, those tunnels would progressively get like smaller and smaller too, you know, till you could sort of go no further. But one thing I spew on, I wish that was a bit later because the start of them were ideal places to peace, man.
There was nothing. They were clean back
They
then.
were clean, spotless, yeah. Like, and we once it sort of started up, we used to do a lot of drains and that, but just locally, you know. But them proper, the actual ones that ran through all the suburbs, like that would have been grouse. You know?
Is that drain system still there now?
Yeah, it's still there now, but I think there's like mad penalties for even fucking venturing in there. You know what I mean? And like, kids are different now, mate. You know, not in a bad way, but they got better shit to do with their time. You know what I mean?
Play Nintendo or something.
Yeah, then like you know, I'm sure there still are kids doing it, but you know, like
So that's the start of your sort of crew. Is in the early days, and you meet the other dudes, and then
well, as I said, right, they lived a couple of streets over in Endeavour Hills, and because I was having family problems, I was up there fucking every weekend, you know, crashing ashes or packs or whatever, and you know, long story short, we got to know them, and they were already bombing, bro. Like I don't think they had a crew name, or did they? But anyway, it was. Dyer used to write Rangs, which is his name sort of shortened. Then there was Esky and Luch Scare. He's Louis PTV Tattoos on Insta, And they were the ones I learned a lot from, bro.
Are they a little bit older?
No, same age.
Same age, but they just were already doing it.
Yeah, like they were, like the very first, like that I know of, like I said, besides them electro pieces and shit, was like USA Crew, bro. They were like the kings. Yeah, they were like everybody. That's what you wanted to aspire to get that good, you know, at the time. And like when it started fully, you know, like graph in the style that we think of it now, like they were pretty much the first to have like them style, like new style pieces, you know, like around, I think it was East Richmond Station, the first one out from Richmond. Like they had that whole thing bombed, like probably about, I don't know, 15 pieces, bro. Just all around, you know, like Trust, Yuri, Gaza, fucking Zone, a couple other dudes.
Just before you get to Burnley there. So.
Yeah, that whole thing. And, you know, we'd go there and just sit there for like an hour and just take it in, you know, it just looked that good for the time, you know what I mean? And they, well, I won't say it was them, but basically paint was just shit back then, Like, they used to sell paint pretty much everywhere. Like, all the department stores, like, you had your auto paint, you know, them little Duco fucking things like that, you know, had like a lot of sick colours, but they were, mate, the only one I remember that used to sort of hold on a wall or a train or something was I think it was Blaze Blue or something like that, and a couple of the primers, you know, the greys. And they had that, and then you had like your fiddly bits and Dulux and shit like that, like, but nothing good. But there was a place in Richmond, I think it was an art supply place. They got in a stock of, I think they were wet looks, right? They were like what they were using in like New York and that, And mate, within 3 days of getting them in, the joint got brewed, cleaned out, and the people who did it, you could see the difference, bro. Like their pieces just shone, you know, like where I said in Auburn, you know, it was just like unbelievable. And then they did after that, they did the Three Wise Kings piece, or it might have even been around that time, before or after, I don't know, but it was again a substation in just between, I think it was just before or after Auburn, maybe, if I remember correctly. And yeah, man, dudes would come from literally all over the city and just sit there and look at it, you know. It was like,
because they're seeing paint being used that they've never really seen in the flesh.
And it was a massive, like, you know, probably twice the distance of this room, like, you know, 3 Wise caked in the middle, Kings, might have been caked on the end, I can't remember. but it was huge. You know, I'd never seen nothing like that before. You know, no one did, and it was like, I think I got pics on my Insta. But anyway, it was hypnotic, bro. It was just full on hypnotic, yeah. And anyway, you know, I got to know Esky and that. And the very first time I went to the yards was Dandenong yards, like Louis, yeah. Him, Esky, and say Di were there. Like they took us, like me and Ash and that, you know, first time. I think we just trashed it, blah, blah, blah. First mission I went on was probably about 200 metres up from Dandy Station, not like away from the city. Like Luch and Rangs, who ended up writing Dyer, they did it all there, and I was like, look out, yeah. And, you know, like jack shit to look out for, but that was my job, you know. And like,
you had to cut your teeth and prove that you were.
Yeah, exactly, right. Like that was actually a big thing, man. Now that you say it, like fucking, it was kind of like people even used the word like, you know, you have to do your apprenticeship, you know what I mean, type of thing, yeah.
Prove that you're going to be a valuable asset to us.
Yeah, and you're not going to buckle, you're not going to bail, you're not going to, you know what I mean?
They're
like,
testing your resolve.
Yeah, and I don't even know if it was consciously, but yeah, that's exactly what it was, yeah. And I actually saw a pic of that turn up on Insta, like literally a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
Like a trip, first time because honestly, man, like we're talking about the photographers before, like when it first started, yeah, like I said, USA Crew and that, they were bombing, I would say, a good 18 months to 2 years before everybody else. Yeah. I'm talking the newest style graph.
Yeah.
Like
as
we know it today. Yeah.
Yep.
You know? Mm-hmm. And like apart from them, like as you got out to the suburbs, there wasn't much. Yeah. And Dandy back then was the fucking arse end of nowhere, yeah. And so everything, we lived in our little bubble. Yeah, so I basically learned everything off Esky and, you know, all that. And anyway, we got together, and the way the name came about, like Fresh Mess and that, like, it's sort of like, some people say, like, I'm the founder. I'm not. There's no founder. There's no leader. There's nothing. But I came up with the name, yeah. There was a track. It was an electro track, came out in like 83, 84 by Knights of the Turntables or something, and it was called Fresh Mess, yeah. And I remember sitting in some science class or whatever the fuck, and just dawned on me, you know, that is a sick name for a graph crew.
It is.
Yeah, like just describes graph perfectly, you know. And that's where that come from. And same thing with HAZE. Like I'd heard Jimi Hendrix for the first time, like, you know, I was like 14 or whatever it was. Yeah. Like very recently, same thing, daydreaming in class one day and fucking Purple Haze. And I thought, fucking HAZE, that's a fucking sick name, you know? Yeah. And
cool letters too.
And I found, like, back then everyone had 4-letter names. Like, that's what you kind of tried to get, 4-letter name, you know? Like,
3-letter crew, 4-letter name.
Yeah, it was just good for piecing, good for fucking sketching, everything.
Balanced it, yeah, it's good.
Yeah, and like, dead set, man. Like, if a dude had come out with, like, this is the start, like, 5-letter name or something. It was like, it was weird, dead set. Like, everyone had 4-letter names, bro. And, you know, and so Fresh Mess, ran with that. Like, you can see, like, back to the photo thing, pics and that didn't even cross our mind back then, bro. We literally did it just to do it. Yeah. And as I said, at that age, like, you're still young and dumb. You think you're going to be doing this shit forever. You know what I mean? Like, honestly, I think once, like I had a set of pics of, you know, probably half me pieces, yeah, and that was from once we went out for a track walk.
Because you had nothing else to do, you probably thought, we'll just go take some photos.
And no one, you know, like having a camera, not every family even had a fucking camera, bro.
Yeah.
You know, like,
and you got to get it developed.
Yeah, all that shit. And like, I think it was me old man's little shitty camera. And yeah, you had to develop, you know, money, this, that, the other, you know. And as a kid back then, you know, you had nothing, mate. And
when you're used to racking everything, you got to pay for the film.
Exactly.
You can't go rack.
Exactly. It's got to go. And also, back then it wasn't a thing, but it did occur to you. You know, fuck, you're putting this shit for other people to see. You know, it's fully legal and that. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, which wasn't why we didn't take photos. Like I said, it just wasn't a thing.
You just didn't think about it.
You know, yeah. And if it wasn't for, you know, like dedicated people like Ron the Train Driver. Like that's what everyone calls him, Ron the Train Driver, yeah? Like, a lot of that chapter would not be visually recorded, bro. You know, dead set. Even those photos you see dudes at Richmond Station at the riders' bench and this and that. It's all him, bro.
Yeah.
Pretty much any dope pick from mid 80s to say 90, whatever, it's his.
Those photos need to be put into a book of just him.
Yeah, man. I would say Phil Ransom. I would say he'll end up doing something.
Hopefully,
Because like I've never seen the whole catalog, but like I said, this dude literally would stop his train peak hour packed with passengers and shit and jump out and take pics, bro.
Which is hilarious.
Yeah, I know, man.
Most of the people on the train would be like, hate this graph stuff, and the drivers stopping. You guys got to see this.
Fucking over. And he used to actually come and hang out with us and shit, bro. It was like, at the start, it was just mind blowing, you know?
Yeah.
But then I remember, like, it took a couple of years, but the Met started cluing on to this, that, the other, and it's not a good look, you know what I'm saying? A train driver associating with riders and taking pics, and you know, I don't know if they knew about him fucking stopping trains and shit in the middle of runs and that, but he got in a bit of trouble, and you know, I think that's when he had to cut it back. You know, I'm sure he was still taking photos and that, but we didn't see him anymore. You know, we're just very nice. You got to keep your job and shit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And but yeah, he was like the first dude to really document. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, and.
With the name though, I got to ask about with the Fresh Mess name. You come up with the name, you take it to the other dudes. Are they straight away like, that's it?
Yeah, that's the way I remember it anyway. Like I said, it should go without saying. I'm speaking for myself here.
Yeah, for sure.
The way I remember it. Yeah, like Fresh Mess was the name of the track, and like Fresh Mess Crew again, as you said, 3-letter. You know, FMC. Just even that just sounds sick. Like FM Crew. You know, like just every way you put it, it just sounded sick. Yeah. And I think at the start, like Force 3 artists and that, like it was just like the few of us bombing FMC literally for like a month or two, and then we all did, you know, like the other, like Esky and all that, Dyer and all that, yeah. And like it's a dope name, bro. Yeah. You know, like it fucking stuck, like everyone loved it, you know. But like, as I said back then, Dandenong was like the end of the earth, yeah. And as it was, graph was sort of getting more and more popular, spreading, whatever, like most of the dudes were from, say, Caulfield up, like that inner city ring, you know, whatever line you're from, but more sort of inner city, and that's where people congregated and shit, yeah? So, like, people would see, once we started bombing the line, people would see our pieces and that, and we were like ghosts, you know, like no one knew who the fuck.
Because you were further away, yeah.
Yeah, like, you know, and also some of the stuff I told you before, like the goings on in Dandenong and that, like Dandenong to this day, right? Like if you meet someone from the other side of the city and you say you're from Dandy, they look at you twice like, wow. And mate, now it's so peaceful, it's so calm, like, you know, shit still happens there. Yeah. It's getting a bit junked out again, this and that, you know, but that's the place. But it's really changed, yeah?
Yeah.
But that whole thing of people who don't live there looking at you twice, that's from that time. From the 70s and the 80s and that. And even, do you know where Doveton is?
Yep, it's a bit further, yeah.
Yeah, like that's a commission area, right? It's like right next to Dandy. But what they used to do is back then, they would have, say for single mothers, all the single mothers, they'd put them in one area, yeah? All the couples, whatever, they put them in another area, blah, 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 yeah? So basically Doveton, which is basically Dandenong, yeah? You had this whole generation of fucking kids with single mothers, no guidance, no nothing, all come of age at the same time. Yeah. And this was like in the 70s apparently, and it was like a no-go zone apparently, bro. Like it was fucking heck.
They must have cottoned on that that's problematic to do that.
That's now, like, you probably know this, like they actually make a point to mix it all up now, you know, like, and it's better. It gives people, they can actually see the rest of the world, you know, positive role models and that, you know.
But it's dehumanizing to just go, well, you're of this ilk, go over there. Like that's almost like racial, but or it's stereotypical.
Yeah, it's like social profiling, you know what I mean?
Social thing, very good. That's what exactly it is.
Yeah, like, but that's just the way people thought back then.
Yeah.
You know, like people, they thought they were helping them, you know, which they were, you know, it was a roof.
It's a start.
What I mean? Yeah, it was a roof, you know what I mean? But it took them a while, but yeah, they soon realised, you know, like I said, you had all these kids of the same age growing up, just running wild, and that's where even a lot of heads like I won't mention their names, like a lot of big names in jail, this and that, like that's where they come out of, you know.
Yeah.
And yeah, so all the goings on down there. By the time these stories would work their way to the city, they were blown out of proportion like 10 times.
The infamy is building of the FMC crew.
Yeah, exactly, to what was actually going on, yeah? And like, I remember the first time we went to the writers' bench, yeah, I can't remember who. The first dudes we got to know was like USA crew, yeah? Like,
And they're who you looked up to originally.
yeah, and just by chance, that's who we got to know, like, first and started hanging out with them, this and that, and they told us about the writers' bench, this and that, and Esky and that knew too, you know, so we went and, yeah, man, like, people were looking at us like, oh, fuck, you know, that's them dudes, you know, because we were up, you know, but, like, didn't know anyone besides down our way, yeah, I'm talking about me and, like, Ash and that, yeah, like Esky and that new Trust and a few other dudes. But, yeah, some of the stories were just, like, ridiculous, you know what I mean? And, like, there was no point even trying to correct people, bro. Like, and when you're young, like, you know, you kind of sort of revel in it a little bit, you know, the whole infamy thing, you know, like, fucking, I look back now and I so wish we didn't, but you can't tell people, mate, you know what I mean?
But you back in that day, all you have is your reputation, really.
Yeah, yeah.
So if you're gonna, you know, especially you say you don't have much in the way of physical possessions. If you've got a reputation, you fucking hold on to it.
That's exactly right, bro. And that, you nailed it. Like, especially you know, even skateboarding, whatever, yeah. That's what it was about, bro. Like, fucking proving yourself, especially if you were built that way, you know what I mean? Like I said, you know, some people just are always going to be attracted to the more dangerous things in life, you know? Yeah. And that's what I loved about it, bro, especially back then. But, yeah, keeping the story straight, yeah, when we first started going to the writers' bench, yeah, and I remember someone told us, oh, everyone gets together on Saturday nights or Friday nights, whatever it was, on trains, and we just drink and hang out and that, you know, rah, rah. And me and someone else, was either Beware or Ash, you know, we went looking for, you know, where everyone was, you know what I mean, one night. And the very first time we went, we see this group of people get on a train, like kids, you know, just a rolling fucking riot, bro. And we were like, who the fuck are these people, man? We're like, mate, if they thought we were like bad cunts, we were like shocked. Yeah. Like,
because you're still teenagers here.
Yeah. And they were too, but like they're pissed and fucking going sick, just rolling through a car full of people, just bombing it and fucking going crazy. It was a dead set, like, rolling riot. And like just one step ahead of the cops, you know, because like this only lasted for like a few months, yeah, but it felt like forever. But the cops had no idea what was going on, you know what I mean? But eventually they worked it out, you know. But it was fucking madness, bro. It was dead set, just swarming everywhere and just fucking trashing everything, yeah. And as I said, you get to meet people, you know, and one thing leads to another. And next thing you know, we're spending a lot more time up in the city, this and that, fucking starting to go on missions with different crews, like, you know, fucking DMA and all that, AC and that hadn't really fully kicked off then yet, but like fucking, basically a lot of the USA crew dudes, you know, like Gazza and that, like we'd stay sometimes at Gazza's parents' joint in Elwood, and there was a yard not far from there, and we'd go do that a couple of times. And he was a dude, man. He turned me on to a lot of things, bro. Like, he was a real smart dude, like, sick artist, obviously. Yep. Like, just way ahead of his time. Like, to me, that dude is the king forever, yeah?
Right.
And, but, like, he was a thinker too, you know what I mean? Like, biggest party animal, bro. Biggest wasted you'd ever want to meet. You know? Like, when there was a party. Yeah. But, like, he was a thinker, you know? Like, I remember staying in his joint one night and he chucked on these... Henry Rollins tapes. Like, Henry Rollins used to do a lot of political discourses and that, you know, when he was in Black Flag.
Yep.
And that, and just fucking turned my mind on, you know what I mean? Like, fucking ended up taking me to some dark places down the track. Like, as with everything, I took it too far.
Right.
You know? Like, just...
But it opened your mind at that point.
Yeah, it just got me thinking along that track, you know? And then basically, yeah, got to know... more and more people, things started blowing up, bro. And I'll tell you, like, things like, for new too, right? Like, I was the first rider you met. He was just a dude by himself, just wandering around the city, loved graph, you know, fucking.
How's the chance meeting happen with him?
Oh, bro, like I said, you could pick him just by the jackets or whatever. Like it was you could pick if you were even remotely into it, you could pick a rider.
You just say, "What do you write?" You just go,
Yeah. Like that was the cool thing about it, bro. Like I don't know of any other like thing that was going on back then or even now. Like you could rock up in pretty much any city in the world and get with a crew of riders, and you just accept it.
Yeah.
You know
Skating, BMX, they've got their similar things.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
Those sort of,
But that not to that degree. You
Okay.
know, I would say.
Yeah,
I would say because from the start it was like that, bro.
Yeah.
You could like, you know, besides obviously like New York, they were always like, that's New York. You know, even if you were from fucking New Jersey or Philadelphia or whatever, you weren't accepted, bro. Like it was just New York. You know what I mean? And like let alone overseas, you know. So we made it our own thing, and as you know, Melbourne became like world class, bro, for graph. You know, that's one thing I'm like proud of. Like I'm no starter of nothing and nothing like that, but to have been there in that period, like where it kicked off, like you know, fucking. There's a lot more negativity in my life than positivity, but that's something I'll always look at that like I'm pretty proud of, you know.
For sure. And you should be, man.
Yeah, even like my whole life, bro, the way like I remember where I was at the time or what I was doing, whatever, is graph. Like I'll see a piece or whatever, or a photo or whatever.
That timeline is
Yep,
just...
that's the only way I can put things into order of where I was, what I was doing, blah, 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 like to this day. Even years after I stopped bombing, like I still do it.
Yeah.
You know, like fucking, that's how I remember, not consciously, but that's just since I was a kid, so it's just me now, you know?
Yep.
But yeah, back to it. So I met dudes like him, new, and he was new too, like his best dude, Brendan, yeah. He was from up Belgrade way. And Tame and that as well, they were all from up that way, middle of nowhere, big chuffers, you know, smokers. And DMA kicked off, I think, like not very long after, you know, like they were around at that time, but as DMA, as that unit, you know what I mean? Like fucking around the same time, but really started kicking off probably, you know, within that year or so, yeah. And then AC and all that, and Mist, he's from Dandy, like Yarraman. Like first night I met him, I don't know if you know this, they used to, after 9 p.m, I think it was, they used to only run 3 cars, right? And the back car would be blacked out, so really only 2 cars. And they would lock the door on the second car so you couldn't get into the blacked out one, right? Yeah. When the train pulled into the station, if you jumped in from the other side, jumped up on the walk-through, you could fucking, because the door to the blacked out carriage is unlocked. So you open it, go in there, and there's no one in there, it's blacked out. And there'd be no guard, because, you know, they used to have guards in the last carriage still back then. Yep. There'd be no guard because that's locked, supposed to be, yeah? And this is when I was living in Clayton. I was going to Dandy and I was coming home or something anyway. One of them's pulled in. I've taken the opportunity, you know, like fucking run over, climbed up before it takes off. Because you get caught, you're getting dragged under, yeah? Like if the train takes off before you're up, you know? Yeah. And I get in there, it's pitch dark, you can't see shit, yeah? And it fucking reeks, bro, like ink, you know? It just fucking reeks. And then I see this fucking head, you know, and I can't remember exactly what I called out. Anyway, it's Mist, yeah? And this is how I met him. And, like, there's so many things like that, bro, where, you know, we'd go into the yellow. The first time I met Gaza, like, first time I met Peanut, Trust, all them was, like, in the yards. Like, fucking so many names I could tell you. Like, you know, you'd go out piecing, and because there were no fences, nothing back then, you know. That's why to a lot of the riders now, probably for the last 20 years, you got to give it to them, bro. Like the missions they got to go on to like do panels, you know, like dudes like Cruise and things like that just used to churn them out, you know. Yeah. Like
that's militant stuff to just get in
there.
there.
Yeah. Like compared to fucking like when we were doing it, like Mist at all of us, even once the drugs kicked in and that, right? He still went on for a bit. Like he was right into it, you know, with the bolt cutters, this and that. But I'd already sort of fallen off by then. But yeah, like you'd be in the yard, piecing, trashing, whatever, and you know, other riders would rock in and come piece, and there you'd meet them, mate. And then you'd meet up and hang out, blah blah blah. We were literally on the trains like every day. Okay. Yeah, like
so the territory for the yards hadn't come into it yet? Because I know that does become a thing.
It does. It does become a thing, but back then, nah, not with us anyway.
Right.
Like I can't remember thinking like that at all personally. Yeah.
I guess if you're in the yards doing your thing, you see someone else, you're just happy it's not a secchi or a cop. So once you realise it's another rider, you just go, hey, what are you doing?
Yeah, and especially like there was like before mobiles and that, there was like a communication network, like right through the city, which was like a riders communication network, when there'd be a new piece or fucking panel running, whatever, like word had spread, and like, or something's happened, this cunt's got pinched or blah, 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 like word had spread quick, so like literally within a few months you knew like heaps of people, and so like half the people that rock in, like after you'd met them, you'd know them, whatever, so it was cool. Like, I never thought that way, bro. About,
for sure.
Like, territory, this and that, but it did get like that because obviously if you think that's like your yard, you don't want other cunts making it hot, you know what I mean? Like if you're like dead serious fucking paneler, like you don't want other cunts making it hot for you. Speaking of which, I don't know if this is dead set true, but I heard at Dandenong, and if they're doing it there now, and they're probably doing it everywhere, they're actually running drones, bro, off the platform.
Heard similar,
like over the layup, because if you know Dandy layup, yeah, like you.
I'm not that familiar with Dandenong, man.
Oh well, at the end of the first platform, like you basically look off it and you look straight up into the layup, yeah. But it's a bit of a hike. Like it's probably like 4 train lengths long, the whole layup, and it's probably triple or something. Then there's another one on the other side of the tracks. So for them to patrol it, it's fucking, it's a bit of a hike. So yeah, I heard they're running drones now, bro. Like, which makes sense, Like, fucking, so yeah, like I said, I got to give it to a lot of young ones, man. Like fucking, it takes a lot to get out there now, bro.
Yeah,
like,
and there's a lot more to risk as well now. Like dudes are, getting hit with some serious offences. But then,
bro.
I'm guessing it would have been a bit more of a slap on the wrist type scenario.
It was, but pretty quick, man. Like by the early 90s, dudes were doing jail for graff.
Yeah.
Like I always was so lucky. Like not always, but a lot of the times I got lucky. Like I tell you one story. Like one night, we in Dandy layup, we just finished the window down Holker. Just me and Beware, I think it was, yeah. And we had our paint, but we left one bag of paint like about 200 metres over there behind a big mountain of railway rocks, yeah, because it just wasn't needed. And when we'd finished, I'd walked up to get the bag, and I've knelt down behind this mountain of rocks, picked it up, and just I've knelt down, I've come up, and there's the Jacks fucking grabbing Beware, right? And he's fucking blew him with him, and he's got away, bro. He's fucking ripped away and ran, because he's like, mum was like strict Russian fucking Orthodox, mate. He would have been dead, bro. Like, he's one of those.
He's not worried about the cops. He's worried about his mum.
Bro. Yeah, full on, mate. I could smell that desperation, mate, from 200 meters away. Yeah, I could see it in his mannerisms. That's all that was on his mind, man.
Yeah,
because he was like, just him and his mum,
and
a lot of expectations on him, And yeah, he got away, bro. And he bolted, and they didn't even see me. And there's a few things like that happened. Like, and back then, because everything was new, right? Like, no one knew where the dangerous spots on the line were, like fucking where, like we're working it out as we went,
Yep.
And nearly every wall, like I did way more walls than panels, yeah. Like I kind of, it wasn't like a spoken thing, but me and Peanut, like in my mind, like me and him had the most pieces up on Dandelion at one stage, yeah. Like this is maybe 86, 87, 88. I had, I don't know, like, this is after something being Bath / I think maybe 19, 20 pieces, and he had like, I don't know, 17, 18. It was always like neck and neck,
Yeah.
And like
competitive, but like
we were the same crew basically by that time, and like because DSA, which Peanut was a part of, like they were the first crew that we started like hanging with on a daily basis, because they were from basically the same area, all from around Noble Park, Springvale and that, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And Peanut was actually living in Clayton. He had a bungalow at the back of his mum's joint. And that was like a gathering spot, yeah. And that's where I started full on smoking first. And that's what every rider used to just smoke big time, yeah.
Yeah.
And I fell into that, and that was like the start of it all, like fucking it's sort of, I wouldn't, personally, I don't think, you know, marijuana is in every case a gateway drug, blah, blah, blah. But for people in that scene, it was.
Yeah.
You know, because of the lifestyle, you know what I mean? You're constantly on the trains, and like I said, every head used to hang around stations, right? And then nothing good. You know, all the drug dealers, all the drug users, everyone would hang around stations, or they're passing through the station, right, yeah. So you being on trains all the time, right, it was a natural progression.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, to be honest, man, my run, like graph run, like full on, was probably from late 85 to maybe 88. Yeah. 89, yeah. And the last year or two was, you know, just a couple of pieces here and there, yeah, because the drugs started fucking getting into it more. Yeah,
Getting in the way.
People get lazy, you know what I mean? And by this, it wasn't nothing hard yet, but drinking, shit like that, like I don't drink now, I haven't drank for years, but that was a big, you know, it was party culture, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the first time I got locked up, bro, like the corner hotel, the back car park, that was like a gallery, yeah? Like Peril, Ransom, Paris, just fucking heaps of grouse pieces there, you know? Mm-hmm. And a lot of people that hang out there and drink and shit. And the very first time I got put in the cells, like the Richmond Jacks come, and for some reason they just picked me out of like 20 dudes and took me off for 4. I wasn't even pissed, you know, like for 4 hours to say, right.
Were you being a smart ass or anything?
Nah, nothing, bro. I just was the unlucky one, you know?
You.
Yeah. Like, got taken in. And back then, bro, it was before they rebuilt the whole prison system. It was still all the old, like the police stations, the cells, Pentridge, all that. It was still the shit from the 1850s and that, yeah?
It's like bluestone shit.
Yeah, it was the last sort of 5-10 years of that, yeah? They got taken Richmond cells, and it was fucking, like, it's pretty scary, man, at the time. Like, not scary, but for someone, a kid, you know, I was like maybe 15 or something like that, 16. Like, first time was like fucking, and they separate all the drunks from the people who are on remand and shit like that. Mm-hmm. And that they're all yelling out of these dark little holes, shut the fuck up, we're trying to sleep, doing jail, blah. And anyway, cunts are getting bashed, tortured, because back then you got taken to the jack shop, you're getting bashed, bro. Doesn't matter what, big, small, whatever you did, you're getting bashed.
And you're cuffed, so you can't do anything.
Yeah. And like I'm some to the point of like torture. Yeah. And like anyway, on the way out after me 4 hours, they're treating me like a cunt. Next thing you know, they're dragging this dude in out of the back of the divvy. He's on fire, bro. His jacket is fucking flames, smoke and shit. And they're kicking the shit out of him, right?
And he's on fire.
Yeah, he set himself on fire in the back of the divvy, right? He had a lighter on him, and fucking they obviously didn't get off him in the search and that. And the dude obviously had problems, you know. Like fucking, you know, you fucking dumb cunt, could have killed yourself, killed us. I'm standing there watching. This is my first experience, you know, like with the.
As a teenager.
Yeah, and then they've sort of jerried that I'm watching old things. Suddenly, you know, best mates, I'll use $2, catch a train, fucking, you know. That poor guy probably got fucking half murdered, mate, for that, you know. But yeah, I always remember that was funny, man, this dude. You know, like a bomber jacket.
Yeah.
Once that shit starts burning, bro, it just fucking keeps going, you know. Yeah. It's not flames and shit, but it just eats, you know. This dude was just smoking, bro, like a ball of smoke getting pulled in, you know. It was, I'll never forget it, man.
But so then the graffiti thing, does it take a bit of a side to the drugs and the partying?
That's exactly right, man. It turned, like I said, it started off like, say, once a week, once every couple of weeks, everyone would get together, find a park or whatever, or like I said, fucking just turn into this rolling rioting in the city, like drinking, carrying on, rah. And that just got more and more and more, yeah.
And then you get a reputation for that as well, so it's expected.
Yeah, and like it was part and parcel of it, man. Like fucking, and I was never a big wastehead and that, but on them nights, yeah, I'd fucking get blind drunk just like everyone else, rah, you know. But the chuff, the weed, once everybody started smoking up big, obviously that, you know, gets you lazy, this and that. And some dudes are high functioning on it. You know what I mean? Like fucking, they couldn't peace without it, sort of thing. You know, like.
But it affects everyone differently. It's
Yeah.
like Ritalin or something. If you're
Yeah.
on that way, then it calms you down. But if you're already, it sends you.
Yeah, for me, I was the opposite. I was like, I think, as I said, because I had a lot of family problems, this, that, the other. Like when I'd get stoned, like it was enjoyable, but
You're numbing the pain.
I'd get into numbing it, but I'd also in my head get into that paranoid zone and fucking everything would hit home and what the fuck am I doing with my life and blah 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 blah. Even at that age,
Yep.
because just I was brought up like my parents tried their best. You know what I mean? To instill fucking values, this and that. You know what I mean? So, and also, like I said, immigrating, even that young, you do feel the expectation, man. Like you think, fuck, they brought you over here for a better life, this and that, and this is what you're doing.
Yeah, you've got extended family that are still there, so you're like, I've got to make the most of this.
And they're slowly starting to calm and all this, and the cops are fucking knocking on your door, and the first time I got taken home was me and one of my mates. I was in primary school, bro, grade 6. Like we were riding our BMXs through Greaves Reserve, and we saw a purse in a car, and we broke in, grabbed it. And anyway, the lady came out just we were doing it, big chase, caught us. She goes, all right, either you tell us where you live, like it was like 2 carloads of fucking big ass fucking bogies, we were like 11, 12 or something, or we're taking you to the cops, I was like, fuck, go home. Anyway, my dad just started fucking beating the shit out, like in front of this chick, and to the point where she was like shaking, and like you could see she was spewing. She brought me home,
Yeah.
And like, but that's what I mean. Like, you got brought over here for a better life, this and that, but then all this sort of shit starts happening. You know what I mean? And I went from that, as I said, to when my parents split, to nothing. No supervision, no nothing. Yeah. So my dad would go to work in the morning before I'd have to head off to school, so I wouldn't go to school. I'd fucking either just stay at home, wait till everyone finished, or dudes that were working and that, and we did the trains, you know what I mean? Or I'd be out all day by myself, just fucking, looking at pieces, fucking bombing, whatever,
Yeah.
And I winged it to year 11 like that, and couldn't get through year 12 doing that, bro. And like year 11, I missed, mate, at least a third of the year. Like now, you miss 1-2 days. Like I've seen with people's kids and that, they're on the phone, mate. What's going on. But back then, nothing. And I think my coordinator level, level coordinator, you were 11 and 12. Like she knew I had issues going on and shit. And she, they never did. But at the end of the year, the end of term, it all comes out. Yeah. And at the end of year 11, my dad fucking went sick. Fucking give it to me and that. And then, but I still passed. But year 12, you can't. You can't be bombing and fucking not going to school and that and expect to pass your exams, yeah? And anyway, I failed year 12, and he's come in, opened my cupboard, ripped out 2 big suitcases full of paint, fucking turfed them down the stairs, and he's going, it's this shit, that's why, because he wanted me to go to uni, this and that, And I was like, no, I'm not going, mate, fuck that, I'd rather get a job, whatever, yeah? Or, repeat year 12 with all these cunts you hate that are form lower by you, which we full on ended up like going to war with like 2 years later, like in the area.
Yeah.
And he basically, I thought he didn't know, like fucking when I'm stirking me paint, this and that, but obviously when I'm not home, he's going from my room, this and that, Yeah. And he goes, and I'm me trying to be a smart ass. I'm like, all right, my paint goes, I go, So that's it, I was out, So fucking, this is 87, I think, early or late 86. And that's when, I was like fucking couch surfing, and that's when I had me run, just out all the time, fucking bombing.
Yeah.
And it was sick, man, like just cruising around all day, scoping walls, and they were virgin walls, bro. Like I said, you look at the pics that I have got, and most of them, like there's nothing behind them, besides, like I said, a few bogan rollies and shit like that.
Yeah, they're like raw bricks.
Yeah, it's like, and literally what you did is cruise around all day looking for doable walls.
Yeah.
But like I said, no one knew the lay of the land. Like you didn't know where you could or couldn't, what was dangerous, this and that. Like, I'll give you an example. Like, I think it's between either Richmond and South Yarra or South Yarra and Hawkesbury. Mm. There's like a massive bend, right, where the train turns. And we pieced like
Near where
along
the jam factory sort of is.
Yeah, I think to the right of the jam factory, it goes right around. Yeah,
Lovers Lane, it goes.
yeah.
Now
And,
they've changed that where all the new trains going and all that shit.
yeah, but yeah, it's different. But I'd already pieced jam factory like up the top,
Yeah.
so we were doing the bottom, on the train, and like usually you'd piece after the train stopped, like between 12:30 and 4, whatever the fuck it was. But then the freights had come through, yeah. And mate, when you're against that wall and the suction off a freight train, like the normal trains are like nothing, yeah. But the freight trains actually pull you, bro.
Is it because it's just bigger?
Faster, I think. It's creating
More
more
mass
of a,
because
yeah,
it's,
more of a wind tunnel, more of a drag, and you can actually feel. You actually got to like brace yourself,
Yeah.
And you can't hear because it's got that big bend. Like you would think, fuck, you'd hear a train coming a mile away, but I swear to God, you can't hear like around that bend, yeah. And the very first time that happened, man, I can't remember who it was. It was either Jags or Beware, like dead set, like this close to getting hit, bro. Like fucking, literally we looked up and because you see the lights, couldn't hear it. Just saw the lights coming around the corner and we were like literally on the bend, and fucking by that much, bro. Like, and like, as I said, you work things like that out on the fly, mate.
Yeah. Now you can tell the other guys.
Yeah,
be careful here.
exactly. Like now, like anyone who gets into it, every fucking single inch of that line, bro.
Yeah.
Within a few months, everything, and that's just from hearing, or fucking you just go on Instagram, mate, and just fucking look and see.
How to do graffiti.
Yeah, or like, look someplace, oh, that's obviously easy to bomb, you know what I mean? And like, but that was the adventure, man.
Yeah.
That was like the whole thing to it. It wasn't just you go out and piece. You had to do the whole fucking recon thing and fucking get your paint, this and that. And, like people think it's weird, but like Kmart, shit like that, you get paint from, and like.
I've heard even Coles you could get.
Yeah, bro, Coles, McEwen's, fucking little BBC hardware or whatever the fuck it was called.
Yeah.
And like I said, it was the crappiest paint, yeah. But you'd have just such a mix of random stuff, and you'd be lucky, like it'd fade within no time, because you got the train dust as well. But a lot of the pieces at the start got a good run, bro.
Yep.
Like a lot of my pieces got like, man, some of them got like a couple of years, like 2-3 years.
Yeah.
Like before, like it become that big, the walls were just getting piece, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
I guess even in those early days, you don't even really think to prime the walls or anything. You're like, we're just going to paint on them. But then, if you've got shitty paint, that's not going to go well on the raw sort of.
And half the pieces, bro, was just a straight piece, not even any background, nothing, man. You just pieced that wall.
Yeah.
And you had to learn about what walls, which paint clung to what wall and which paint didn't and what ran with what and, which nozzle fucking was best for this for that, because the thin lines, real thin outlines were really in for like the first couple of years, like pretty much you can look at the pics again, like nearly every piece, like the thinner you could get that outline with the can control, like the better.
That was your flex.
That was your flex, exactly, and like it was hard, man. Like fucking, it was hard, like to get them fucking nozzles to do that. It was like, I won't even say hit or miss, bro. You had to fucking, it was a learning process, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you couldn't just turn up and do it, like dead set. Like pretty much every dude, you look at their first couple of pieces and you can see that learning curve.
That progression.
Yeah, and even with the pics I've got of my shit, like I've got probably pics of maybe not even half the stuff I did, like on the line, and then there's the pieces around the area, and the drains and that, like nothing, all gone. I wish I did.
But hopefully after seeing this, some people might send you some pics, man, that sitting on them.
That's already happened a couple of times since I jumped back on Insta, like about 9 months ago or something now, a year ago, whatever.
Yep.
Like I've had a few, bro. Like I've had me first and second piece sent to me.
That's awesome.
Yeah, which I thought I would never see.
What a spin out.
Yeah, like me very first.
Did the people who sent it to you know that was, they knew it was yours, but did they know that was one of your first or second ones?
Everyone knew me first because that was on Noble Park Kitchens. It was, I think there was a Beware, HAZE, Dyer-esque, I think, like 4 pieces. And down our way, like, it was a level up, them pieces, you know what I mean? So everyone knew, like, fuck, who's this new crew, you know? So everyone remembers that because it was the first, yeah?
Yep.
And yeah, someone sent it to me, and first I got sent a pic of my second piece, which was in Clayton, and that was actually not bad, you know, but, and then few people in the comments started asking me, oh, have you got a pic of that first blue piece? And I was like, nah, I'm never going to see that, you know? And then, who was it? I think it was Planet Purple, maybe sent it to me. I think it was.
I did see you have tagged him in something recently. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was either him or Matronics. One of them sent me the second, one of them sent me the first. Yeah, but
Which is an awesome thing about the internet.
Oh, bro, that's like I said. I was a pretty not anti-social media. It just wasn't my thing.
Yeah.
You know, like I've never done Facebook, none of that. But like, and as I said, when I started this Insta account in 2018, whatever it was, because I was going overseas, yeah, it was just purely a communication thing with my family, you know, and didn't even end up using it, really. And then I've jumped back on, like I said, about a year ago, not even that. And actually looking at how developed the whole graph niche is on there, like I'm really loving it, man. Like,
Yeah.
you know, just this window into the whole world, literally the whole globe of graffiti, you know what I mean? And a lot of the urbex stuff and that, you know, like I love that shit, you know?
Yeah, it is cool.
Yeah, like, and people bringing out all old pics of the old Blueies and the Harris trains and shit like that, you know? Like, it's fucking, like this chick, just last night, she sent me a few pics of this, I think it was like, what are them, bed and breakfast things?
Yeah.
Someone started, and it's like 3 Harris carriages.
Yeah.
And like, it's like full decked out and shit, like, oh, you've probably seen it, but
I have, yeah.
yeah, I spun it up.
Awesome,
Yeah,
yeah.
and that new hip hop shop, Harry's hip hop shop,
Harry's,
whatever,
and
yeah,
Easy's
with
is
the
there too, yeah.
train up the top and that, it looks fucking grouch, mate. Pieced
Awesome.
and that, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of good things happening, man.
Yeah, for sure. So with the crew, you've got your crew, you start going hard for a fair few years, then the weed gets in the way, the partying gets in the way,
Yeah.
and then people start to sort of, well, obviously graph's always there, but
Well,
the partying gets in the way
I'll tell you exactly what happened, right?
Yeah.
In 1989, the Buff went on strike, right, for like about 3 or 4 months, bro. And there was just panel after panel after panel after panel just running. Like every train. You ask anyone who remembers this, bro, when the Buff went on strike. I'm pretty sure it was 89.
What, like pay disputes or some shit, like literally on
Some
strike?
union dispute, literally on strike, no buffing.
Yeah.
Right? Fucking insides, outsides, nothing, bro. It was fucking heaven for us, yeah?
Yeah.
And at Noble Park, again, there was the electricity box, right? Like right in the car park, right next to the station. So peak hour, we'd all sit on that box and just watch the trains come through, you know, like fucking the shit went on for like at least 3-4 months, bro.
Like a moving gallery every
Yeah, it was just because before you'd have to go to like Richmond or something because you got like, 5 lines coming through there or something and you might catch something here or there, yeah? But this, you didn't even have to go for that time. Just everything was running everywhere, yeah? It was fucking the best, yeah? But that in itself created the monster. Like next thing you know, we're hanging at Noble Park like every day pretty much and there was a video game arcade, a pinball parlour, like literally 10 steps up the road, yeah? And we all started hanging there. And back then, people used to deal from penny parlours, basically, yeah? And like
I think
said,
it's
the
always been a
stations
thing,
and that,
yeah.
yeah. And like I said, it was like 10 steps from the station, you know? So you could almost sit there and watch the panels go by at night.
Yeah.
And then next thing you know, a lot of dudes start selling weed from there as well as using it. And we were all hanging at Khan DSA at his joint at this time, which was next suburb up in Springvale. So, you know, we'd spend the day there, whatever, checking out panels, do a few loops, whatever, you know, make a little bit of money, whatever, just for smoke at that time. And then we'd go to his joint at night and fucking party up, you know. And that just became a everyday thing, you know. And then you start meeting dudes that were doing harder shit, you know. Like I said, everyone fucking did everything at the station back then, yeah. And Dan
Cameras weren't much of a thing. You could just hang
not
there.
not
do
at
whatever,
all, bro.
yeah.
Not at all. The very few that I remember even having didn't even work. You know what I mean? Or if they did, it was this grainy ass. Like you look like Melbourne at that time was actually one of the bank robbery capitals of the world, bro. And if you look at the pics from that time, even in the banks and that, the robberies and that, you can't see shit. It's like there's nothing.
Grainy VHS.
And that was like top of the line, you know. So the shit they had on the stations and that was like nothing, you know. But yeah, so slowly people in the crew, I guess, or in the extended crew, you know, more people started hanging there, and a couple of heroin users, a couple of this, that, sort of, you know, I always one of those people who always swore I'd never do that, blah, 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 you know what I mean?
Because heroin was a thing in the 80s, but it wasn't as prominent in the graph world.
Nah, not, like I said, at the start, it was just chuff,
Yeah.
like sort of mid to late 80s, but pretty much 1990 on the head. There was like a heroin fucking tidal wave, bro. Started washing over Melbourne and Sydney and pretty much everywhere, but especially Melbourne and Sydney, yeah. And the graph scene got hit big time because, like, again, this is my story, yeah. Like, the transition was seamless, bro. Like, you're out there every day, racking anyway, you know what I mean? Like for paint, this, that, the other, and then you're racking for drugs. Whatever, and you don't even notice it because you're still on the trains, you're still doing a few loops, still this and that, you're still seeing the same people, they're doing the same shit with you, you know what I mean?
It's normalised within the
yeah,
community.
like normalised as in that's what you're doing, but the whole mode of doing it was instead of getting paint and shit, you just reckon other shit for whatever, you know, drugs, whatever, but you still having the same day, you know what I mean? And I didn't even notice it, man, to be honest, at the start. Like, I always remember one of our mates, Shifty, like he was the first dude to OD, he'd die, right? Like, he's the first guy I knew, like, you know, what product he was using. He was in DSA, and I remember him saying, mate, you watch within a year, 2 years, you'll all be on it, mate. And we're like, no way, you know what I mean? He was fucking dead right, mate. Dead right, you know, like, because I didn't know how this shit worked, you know, like now you got drug education, you got fucking this, that, the other. Back then there was nothing, bro. And the dudes you kind of looked up to, like outside of the graph scene and that, were the fucking rough heads on the corner that you'd see fucking punching on, and, you know, the fucking cunts who could handle themselves, this and that. And most of them were fucking junkies. You know what I mean? And like, but you didn't know that at the time. But those are the people, those are your role models, mate.
Yeah.
You know? And anyway, yeah, we're sitting there, buffer strikes going on, and you know, being a group of dudes hanging out, fucking, you know, stupid shit had happened. Fucking window get broken here or there, or shit's getting racked, and Noble Park started turning to shit like within, you know, not very long. And it started attracting people that weren't, like, basically it started hitting the papers, right? The local papers, like the Dandenong Journal. Like this group in Noble Park, fucking, this is when the whole 3174 thing happened.
Yep.
And I forget who, mate, that period of my life, I so regret it. The only thing I can say about it is probably the first group that repped the postcode, like that I know of anywhere in the world. Yep. Like now, postcode gangs are like a fucking big thing. Yeah. But that's like the first one I know of anywhere, yeah?
Yep.
But once this shit started hitting the papers, like, we started getting blamed for everything. You know, anything that had happened around there, it was like us, yeah? But what all this media, it was all fucking bullshit too, yeah, most of it. Like,
well, they're trying to point a finger at someone.
Like I was saying before, like just making it as sensational as possible, you know?
Yeah.
But it started attracting people who weren't necessarily writers, you know, they might have been into hip hop a little bit or had a bit of a tag or something like that, but a lot of heads who thought it was something it wasn't, or who wanted a part of the fucking all this media fucking coverage and this and that, you know, like, and back then I didn't even really see it, bro. I was like just all about the crew and being loyal and this and that, and, you know, and the more the merrier sort of thing, you know, like fucking, as in not being close crew, but to hang out with every day and fucking party on, yeah. But that's what started happening, bro. It started attracting just people I wish it never did,
Right.
You know?
And they're coming in with the mindset of this is just about crime and drugs and it's not about the art in any capacity.
And as I said, at the time I didn't see it, but there were people who definitely came with the thing of, well, here's a ready market, mate. There's like fucking 20, 30 dudes, 40 dudes here every day, fucking doing their thing, fucking boom, you know? And like, as I said, with hindsight, I know certain people that was their thinking from the start, bro.
So they saw dollars and potential customers here that they could come in and turn that into a ready-made market for the drugs and shit.
Yeah. And back then, right, there was, I think St Kilda, there was a bit of a street scene where people were selling on the street and that, you know, like heroin and that. Like, but out in the suburbs, no. But we started selling, like I said, from around the pinball part, the start of just weed and that, And slowly but surely, one after the other starts getting into heroin, right? Mm-hmm. And then we're selling that. And back then, the cops in each area, no one communicated, no one talked. Like, so long as they got you out of the area, they didn't give a fuck where you went, so long as it wasn't there, right?
Not their problem anymore.
Yeah. So anyway, that whole 3174 thing, how it took off, like this crew in Dandy, this MC3, some dude, I forget his name, went over one of Esky's pieces, right? And just blew out of proportion. Ended up in this massive fucking gang fight. And like I said, it was so ironic. You know, I told you when I was a kid, I used to live in them flats and hear it all, like, you know, late at night. That's exactly where it was, bro. And in the middle of it, it was like time stopped and I'm looking up at my old lounge room window and just seeing myself as a kid looking down, you know, watching, full circle, bro. And like, I actually nearly killed someone that night, man. Lucky someone stopped me just in the heat of the moment, you know, like machete. And it was full on, bro. But as usual, as I said, by that time, all the wrong heads were starting to get attracted, and this shit was hitting the papers. And mate, it got to the point where they got so fucking stupid about it, right? They were having meetings with the FBI. They brought 2 FBI agents over, bro, to fucking give them advice and shit like that because. Like, to me now, it's kind of cringe, like that we were wearing bandanas and shit like that. But that was just a fashion at the time, Like, that shit would happen anyway. No matter what we were into, what we were wearing. That's just how it was out in that part of town at that time, right? That would happen anyway, but it just so happened, like, hip-hop was fucking kicking on. And, like, now, like, kids that age, they dress what they're into. You know what I mean? But, mate, they'd have like front page articles of fucking pieces and fucking, oh, he's crack next and shit like that. Like, mate, they're still not even cracky now, except for dickheads who call meth crack, which I hate that. Yeah. But, you know, like just sensational shit like that, Yeah. And it got crazy, man. But that's when the cops started really looking at us, right? And graft started getting hard. Like, because, as I said, you know, you were doing other things. And then the money started coming into it, Mm-hmm. Like I said, there were those few people predatory, but pretty soon, you know, when you had a habit, you had to sort of start racking more, you know. And then the clothes came into it because the whole Nike thing and the fucking Air Maxes and shit, that sort of kicked off maybe around 1990, 91, right? Yeah. Like, there was nothing, but before that, there were Fila tracksuits, right? And Fila was still real exclusive back then, right? You could only get them, there's like one place in Toorak or something, there's like a tennis shop that sold them, And what happened was there was, like I told you, they'd occasionally have big breakdancing, graffiti things organised in the city, and there was one of them. And afterwards, I can't remember how it happened, but everyone, like about 30 dudes, you know, riders, ended up in it was Camberwell or somewhere, and literally just stormed this sports shop, bro. Just took everything, right? Just cleaned it out, and fucking ran off, and everyone was just laughing and fucking carrying on, you know, like just dickheads. And we ended up getting raided for that, and I had a car at the time, so all this shit's in the back of my car, this and that, so that was like, you know, first sort of charges, but, you know, it was a bad thing, man, like fucking really scared people and shit, you know, like fucking imagine you're working in a shop, bro, and 30 fucking crazy...
Camberwell's not used to that as well.
Like, I can't remember if it was Camberwell exactly, but it was that part of town, and like, bro, that was the thing that kicked off the whole law thing. you know, like in a big way.
So you have to go to court for that?
Yeah, all they could get me on was like a theft charge because they found, you know, like stolen shit in the back of my car. But who was it? I think it was my mate Morris. He copped a lot of other shit because in between that, he got into a punch on with the transits at Noel Park Station because they were vicious back then, man, the transits. Like, they hated us, yeah? And like I said, if you got taken in a jack shop, you were getting a bashing. The way they used to look at it is, these young cunts, will give them a good kicking and hopefully teach them a lesson and break them out of this behaviour, yeah? But honestly, in probably 80% of the cases I've seen, it was the exact opposite, bro. It just made kids bitter and want to rebel more. Yeah? Like just to fucking get back at them.
Dislike authority more.
Yeah, exactly. And mate, I could tell you stories like Croc before he died, yeah? Like mate, one time they had him at the jack shop, they had him cuffed to, and this is from his own mouth, yeah? To a chair one end, feet the other end. Jack stretching him out, and fucking had a syringe full of blood, like telling him they're going to fucking inject him with this fucking Hep C, fucking blood if he doesn't, you know, shit like that, bro, dead set. Like dead set, full on torture, yeah? Like the worst kickings I've copped in my life has been off, like, police back then in the 80s and 90s, yeah? And it was normal, as you expected it. Like, even in, like, Springvale and that, like, once the dealing hit the streets and that, like, certain cops would come down and take off their badge, take off their jackets, go around the back and punch on, mate. Like, dead set. Like, fucking no charges, no nothing, you know? And, like, that's how they kept fucking order, you know? Wow. And, like, but how it got to that point was after that whole 374 thing, it wasn't even 9 months, bro, 12 months. But the fucking ruckus in the papers and all that shit.
Like 60 Minutes articles or something like
that? Yeah,
it
was on Current Affair, fucking this, that, you name it, mate, right? And I remember just rocking up there one day, the penny parlour was closed down, and even that poor dude, the dude who ran it, you know, we didn't realise we fucked his business because obviously no one came there. We weren't spending money. We were just hanging out there, you know what I mean? And I came there one day, it was closed. So anyway, everyone drifted to Dandy, right? Same thing, fucking penny parlour right at the station. There was like 4 right next to the station, yeah? And again, same thing. And this is when the heroin really kicked in because a lot of heroin users in Dandy, yeah? And the pills as well. And started dealing from there. And I remember the Rackham, these 2 chicks who used to hang around with the younger generation. They rocked up one day and they decked out in this best Nike shit and that, you know. And I started talking to one of them. I ended up going out with her for like 3 years or something down the track. But she told me, mate, like, tell me on this raw, like Maya at that time, you could walk in with anything, right? Even if it was a year old, year and a half old, if they stocked it, you could, mate, it could be broken, fucking thrashed, whatever. You could put it down on the counter, no receipt, no nothing, and they would refund you, right? So basically, you could walk in, take the most expensive fucking thing, obviously without them seeing you, off the shelf, fucking get the counter, put it down, spin them a fucking story, you know, or like a christening dress, you know, like $500. Oh, the baby died, whatever, some just terrible shit like that, you know, and like, yeah, and mate, they just refund you.
Right.
You know, like,
Cash,
bro, cash, no receipt, no nothing, yeah. Mm-hmm. And this went on for like about a good year and a half before my incrementally started changing their whole return policy, yeah. And it got to the point where, I don't know if you remember back then, everything was closed on Sundays, yeah? Mm-hmm. And Maya City was pretty much the only big shop that was open on a Sunday, right? And like now, as you get older, you know, rule number 1, if you're onto a good fucking earn, you don't go telling everybody, you know what I mean? Like fucking it's going to fuck it up for you, right?
Blowing up the yard.
But yeah, exactly. But this shit just spread, right? And on a Sunday, like, only place you could make money was Maya City, right? You know, the post office at the end of the Brick Street Mall? Like, you'd go in there, rack up, and they had the die tags. And you go up there, and there'd be just tens of people, bro, just breaking off tags and fucking shit like that from, like, all over the city. That's how quick word spread, yeah? And fucking this shit, I don't know why they kept it going for so long, but they did, yeah? And then eventually they wouldn't do it without a receipt, and then this, that, the other, you know? But while it lasted, it was, like, the easiest cash I've ever made, bro. Yeah. But then... that's the tracksuits and that. That's when it got gettable, you know, because Maya was stocking them. And my first Run DMC poster was Maya had an Adidas display in Maya City, and they had this grouse Run DMC, you know, when they were sponsored by Adidas, this and that. And this thing was fucking bigger than me, bro. And I like ripped it off the wall, fucking ran out with it under my arm. I was dead set. It was like fucking taller than me, yeah.
Yeah, but that was the thing with Maya back then, is that there was no like you pay on the way out. There was random counters, and you could just walk in and out and around
bro.
and go to one level, another one. It was
even up till like I was living in Collingwood for about 4 years in the mid 2010s. Vita Sunshine was my neighbour, actually.
Oh, wow.
I was seeing on the other day, like my very next door neighbour. And,
there you go.
Yeah, but I used to go to the city in City Mine and Collingwood on days where I'd be like real hard up, just like, because I don't know, I sort of came up with the cameras as they came in, so I sort of always knew my way around them. Like, you know, I could sort of stand back onto a camera and fucking just load up and just knew how to do it, you know. But you get like armfuls, bags full of shit, just find an empty counter because they had the fucking machines bolted onto the inside of the counter, you know, the magnet releasing things. And you just sit yourself down, you know, fucking scooch into where they keep the bags and shit, just click, 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 just take the tags off everything, fucking bag it, because all the bags are there, and you go, mate. And even the, you know, the beepers at the doors, like they'd have security guards, like standing in between them, but half the time they'd be looking at what's going on in the mall, this and that, and there was always a space about that big on the side, you know, the wall, and you got the first buzzer, and if you walked between there, it wouldn't go off, you know. So all you'd have to do is just time it when they're looking the other way, and boom, out, you know. And I was actually pretty lucky then, like I said, with the cameras, and that's just before they brought in that big fucking facial recognition, whatever. But they were advertising that years before they actually got it up and running, bro, like just to deter people, you know, like saying, oh, this, that, the other. But when I was living in the city, I was like killing it there, you know.
Really?
But yeah, like, but with the racking, like the graph set me up grouse for that. Like I will admit, like I loved racking. Like when I stopped racking, you know, I actually missed it. Like just the rush of it, this and that, because it got to the point of like dead set industrial scale racking, bro. You know, like you know, I'll give you an example. You go into a supermarket, you know, them blue zip up cooler bag things you get from Coles, you know, like at one stage I was getting, and the reason I do this, right, like I had other earns, you know, I was doing other shit, this and that, but, you know, I'd done a bit of jail by this time and this and that, but literally, it's a theft charge, mate. It's nothing. Even, you know, you got a bad record, you're going to do jail, but it's going to be a matter of months instead of going to stick some cunt up for fucking half the money you're going to make and you're going to get 8 years. You know what I mean? So, yeah, anyway, like, you take like 4 of those bags, literally like this, you know, just filling them, DVDs. Each bag would hold like 40 DVDs, right? I was getting, I think, $5 a piece off this dude who worked the markets. You know, he'd buy them off me. So I'd fill 4 bags. That was like $1,000, you know. And some supermarkets, you could go to the counter, buy chocolate and kick them out like under, because the beeper things only start like knee high, you know. So you just sort of move them out with your feet and kick them out, or you'd leave them at the turnstiles on your way out, just fucking reach in, pull them out and walk off, or you fucking just turf them over, you know, where they keep the trolleys?
Yeah.
Just turf them over there, bro, and, you know, get them on the way out. And I was like, it got to the point where I knew a couple of chicks who worked for like, or at different Coles and Safeway and that, they told me, bro, your picture's up in the fucking staff rooms and that, you know what I mean? Like, but the thing that stopped that dude who was buying them, he got pinched. It was on the news, everything, like fucking big time, because he used to have, you know, they had the seals on them, on the DVDs. Yeah. He had the machine to open them, but I don't know, he lost it or something. So you go in there, buy DVDs off this cunt in front of everyone, he'd just pull out a butter knife and start hacking them open and shit. And,
they can't get any more red hot than
yeah, man. And like the other merchants, I would see their faces when I'd come in, bro. They were hating him because, you know, they know, you can see he's making money and they know it's off hot shit. Someone's obviously given him up, but he was so careless, mate. But yeah, it was pretty funny, man.
So with eventually the graph kind of people get involved in like you said the crime shit, and then that when the first like era of FMC kind of peters off a little bit. People start to get distracted.
Big time. Like probably 1990-ish. Like the second gen come through, like Croc, Brace, Action, even though he was KSA, but they all hung around together, and Cancer, like a couple of them dudes, yeah. And they were fucking going hard from the start. Like
so Croc's part of that second
generation.
Even though he's young, he's real young.
Yeah, he started hanging with us, like I told you, like when we were like 15, 16, he was about 10, 11, 12, whatever it was. And
so super young.
He was mini, bro. The bong was bigger than him, bro. Yeah, dead set, you know?
Yeah.
Like, and like I said, I don't know how we even turned up, but he was like our mascot, you know what I mean? And he came in, but by the time he got to like, I don't know, into his teens, 15, 16, he was hanging with the dudes his own age, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, but yeah, they would go hard, man, with the racking and that. And they actually started that whole country road fashion type thing to, dressing good and that. Like, we was, like, with the Nike wear and that, yeah, like, it was a hip-hop thing, obviously. You'd see all the record covers and this and that, and it was a worldwide trend thing, but it also served a practical purpose. It was comfortable. You were out on the fucking street all day.
You could run.
You know what I mean? Yeah. You're on trains, you'd fucking sitting on your ass on the corner all day, blah, blah, blah. It was actually practical, and big jackets and shit. And that's how that fashion basically got big, like streetwear. It was actually streetwear, yeah?
Yeah.
But the whole country road, fucking big name, Gucci, all
Polo.
this, that, the other, Polo, all that, was they figured out you can't walk in looking like a suburbanite to, these big fucking expensive ass shops and where you obviously, they can pick, you're not from around there, yeah?
Yeah.
So dudes started dressing the part, and it worked, and it became like a fashion.
Yeah.
Like, not for me personally, but a lot of the younger generation, like, they loved all that fucking country road shit and that, I didn't mind it, but I was always into, like, I still am.
Yeah.
The tracksuits and the kicks and all that, you know what I mean? But, yeah, they went hard, bro, and they were actually, they were the first ones to start doing jail, like the graph and graph-related stuff, yeah? Like, the first time I went to jail, I got pinched for an armed robbery, like, robbed the TAB, got like 30 grand or something like that, right? But there were like shots fired and shit, and like we come undone, and the two dudes I did it with were like crew associates, but they were a little bit younger than me, like by a year or two, and they were doing banks, they were doing everything, bro. And with this, I can talk about this now because one's dead, the other one is probably dead for all I know. Like, I was just meant to get 2 cars. The job, that was it. But because I was pilled on the Rohypnol, fucking, I've ended up going along with the whole thing, as a driver. And, yeah, shots were fired, and this dude, my friend, I won't say his name, but he ended up getting stabbed to death in Port Phillip prison. He died in Stick-Ups FMC, like, died in Stick-Ups arms, mate. Like, because, yeah, I don't know, he just had this thing, man. He'd go in and you just have to let shots go, mate. They did a robbery at Vic Market, and they had everyone down on the floor, and he's let one go into someone's back. He's paralysed this dude. And, Vic Market, bro, a lot of those dudes are deep into the fucking mafia and that, yeah? And he was in Port Phillip prison. His own cellmate, who was Italian, fucking stabbed him to death, and it was all recorded on the phone, bro, as he was on the phone to his missus.
Jesus.
Like, I've heard it. You can hear him screaming, fucking, what are you doing, man? He's just fucking screaming going on. And yeah, he's got knocked in there, but that was my first big pinch, yeah? And
that's a level up from pinching stuff from
Yeah.
supermarkets.
Yeah, that's actually, like, I was dealing a bit before then. That was probably the worst thing than racking that I was doing, like on the street, I mean, just here and there. But yeah, that was like the first real bad thing. Yeah, and that was totally for heroin, totally heroin related. Like I said, these dudes were they ran hectic for like months, right? And I'm talking tens of thousands and just tearing through it, all on gear, And back then, the armed robbery squad, they were murderous, bro. They were like dead set, mate, in on it for one thing, setting up jobs. They had certain crews working for them, right? Not all of them, obviously, but the main ones. And if they got you, you were dead set tortured, mate. Like, said you'd get a bashing or whatever, that was a level up. Till they got disbanded in, I think it was '01, something like that, like where Internal Affairs actually managed to get cameras into their fucking unit in St Kilda Road and got them on camera doing all this shit, and they found fucking all these stupid guns and drugs and shit in the ceiling and all this shit, bro. Wow. So they disbanded them. But yeah, the graph fell to the wayside totally for me. But as I said, I always kept, it was always on my radar. Yeah, like when I'd be driving, not so much, because obviously not on the train line, but a lot of the times I was on the trains, yeah? And just because being so familiar with it, like even a lot of the second, third gen FMC dudes, yeah? Like through the 90s, FMC basically became a jail crew, right? And a lot of dudes were getting recruited, like third gen, by the second gen dudes, like Croc and Brace and that, in jail and that, yeah? And all this jail politics and shit, and I just got sick of it, bro. Like, someone would get asked into the crew, and then someone else would come up to me, do you know fucking this one, because they don't like this dude, and I just didn't give a fuck, man. Seriously, like, about the crew I did, but I didn't want nothing to do. I'm not one of them people into all the bitching and the politics. And
but
all
because
that shit,
you're a founding member,
yeah, exactly.
people are looking up to you.
And I was the only one around, right? Like, Ash was pretty much working then, even though he was like full using. Esky and Dyer, they were both working pretty solid by then, doing their thing, And they didn't fall into it. Esky and Dyer, they did well. But
They did, and in hindsight, you got to look at that and go, "Fuck, they did a good job to keep their nose clean and that sort of thing."
Bro, amongst how it was, and like I said, it wasn't just a outside of town thing. It ended up being the whole city, bro. People can't even imagine what it was like in the 90s, man. Like, as in heroin-wise, like, you would have seen it.
Yeah, St Kilda was definitely huge.
Yeah, it was fucking everywhere, and like, as I said, the graph scene in particular got hit real hard, bro. Yeah. Real hard, because, like I said, the transition was seamless. Like, the lifestyle was exactly the same, and like, you could see graph all day, as much as travelling, doing your errands, this and that. You're still seeing riders all day. You're still seeing who's doing what, and you know what I mean? You're getting that fix. Laying a few tags here and there, this and that, but that's about it,
I think it's really important that as we have these conversations, and obviously it's your story, but everyone's story, that we sort of try and put a positive spin on it and sort of say to the younger generation.
That's exactly what I'm trying to get to.
Yes, for sure. And I'll let you say it, but
yeah, that's exactly
we
what
don't want to glorify that stuff.
No, not at all, bro. The reason I'm saying this is because, like I said, right, ever since I was young, one of the things that's really irritated me is a lot of people, when you meet them, especially younger cunts, they go their way to try to act real hard, and they're swearing and they're carrying on and trying to be something they're not, because they think that's what we are, But we were just dudes who got caught up in these circumstances, ended up with massive drug problems, and it was fucking terrible, mate. Yeah.
Nothing to be proud of.
Nothing, bro.
Respect. Yeah.
Like I told you before, the graph part of it, I'm proud, especially now, it's been like however many decades to look back and think that I was a part of that at the start. That I'm totally proud of, bro. But everything that came afterwards, up until, say, 6-7 years ago, not at all, bro. And the reason I'm telling these stories is because I want, like on Insta, a lot of young kids just hit me up and that, this and that. I want them to know how easy, like I said, the transition can be seamless, bro. You don't even see it happening. Yeah.
Especially now, there's a lot of other drugs. You're not going from weed to heroin generally.
Yeah.
They will make the slow progression from that to the more hard stuff.
And the thing is, today, a lot of people, they're using everything. Like, they're using, whatever they can get their hands on. And because most dealers now, they're selling everything. They're like, before, if you're a heroin dealer, you're a heroin dealer. Like, fucking, that was it. But now they're selling heroin, ice, weed, whatever. So if you might be an occasional ice user, but because you go on wherever to score, like you're coming into contact with all these people, you know, like fucking you were doing all this other shit, and eventually most people fall into it. Yeah. And it's fucking terrible, bro. Like down my way, they're walking around like literal fucking zombies, man. Like cunts fucking screaming at the air and fucking. It's actually chilled out a little bit, but on the other hand, the heroin's kicked off a bit again because of what I just told you. Yeah. Like a lot of people who would never have come across it because they're coming into contact with it, they're using both. And what I've realised when a lot of them get cooked like that off the ice, the heroin seems to be the only thing that gives them, you know, an hour of fucking normality.
Yeah, but what a scary place to be in. That
it's
you're
terrible,
using one
man.
drug that's horrible to counteract another drug, which is horrible.
Yep, and the money, bro. Like the money, like I think of myself, like, you know, on the one hand, if I didn't have the drug habit, I wouldn't have been doing it, you know, to get the money. So I don't look at it as just, oh, I wasted all this and that, you know. It's probably into the fucking over a mil, mate, for sure, at this stage of my life.
Crazy.
Yeah, for sure.
The house worth of shit. Yeah.
At least a house, yeah? And that's what I'm saying, how easy it can happen, man. Like, out of the original people, yeah, from that original graph period, I could name on me one hand the dudes who didn't fall down that road, yeah, and who actually went on with it, who fucking leveled up, became like sick riders or sicker riders, you know. Like, and even a lot of people you'd never think, mate, they went through it. There's a lot of dudes now who are acting like fucking, I hate to say it, holier than thou and never been there, mate. They were doing it, mate. They were fucking as bad as everyone else, you know, and now.
But they might have learnt before others, so they can.
Yes, some of them, yes, some of them, no. You know, as it's been that recent, but you know, you're always going to get those people like smokers. You know, they stop smoking ciggies for 2 weeks and they're preaching. You know,
I can't handle that.
Yeah, that sort of thing. Yeah, and that's cool, man. Everyone's different. You know what I mean? But again, I would rather them, for the younger ones, I would rather them be honest and just tell it like how it was, bro.
Yeah.
You know, like just to tell it how it was, not like fucking. You know, no, I never did that, blah, blah, blah. You know, you don't have to go down that road. Bro, you don't have to, but you probably will. You know, you probably will.
Well, yeah. And that's the thing, I guess. It's hard for younger people to understand it because you didn't listen to anyone when they told you that. You know? So people don't listen.
Yeah, and like I said, back then, there was no such thing as drug education or nothing like that, bro. You like, the first time I went through withdrawals, I didn't know what the fuck was happening to me. I dead set thought I was fucking going crazy. Dead set. Like, I did.
It's an induced psychosis of sorts.
Yeah, like, but the mental, but also the physical withdrawal,
Yep.
I didn't know what was. I thought I was like caught some disease or something, bro. I did not know. I didn't even know that was a thing till I put two and two together. Shit, this is the first night I haven't had that stuff in like 2 months, you know?
Yeah.
And again, like the way I started was a so-called friend, and this is again warning to younger kids to look out for, who was a sort of a rider. Like, he would come round and shout us all gear, heroin, you know, for like a month. And here's me thinking, young and dumb, thinking, oh, what a grouse mate. But that was, he knew we were earners, you know, racking this and that, and that's why he was coming to my flat, mate, you know, because everyone would chill there, smoke this and that, you know.
Yeah.
And before you knew it, yeah, you know.
Yeah. My nan used to say that to me as a kid. She's like, they'll give you free drugs and that's how they hook you. She used to say that to me.
Yeah.
And like, I always had that in the back of my head.
Yeah.
And luckily for me, I never got messed up in any hard drugs. Did some party stuff, coke, pills, whatever. But she used to say that to me. And how fucking true it is.
Bro, as far as I said, drug education goes, there was none. But that is one thing you did hear. Like on TV and that. Like, you know, they'll fucking push it on you at school or whatever, you know, and give it to you for free, this and that, but it never registered, you know, like fucking, like I knew it was a thing, but never registered, bro. But yeah, like again, back to that, yeah, so 90s, I'm in and out of jail, like, you know, probably all up in bits and pieces. I've done maybe 3.5, 4 years through the 90s, right? But that's like I said, after that armed robbery, like, I've pretty much stuck to dealing and racking, because dealing it's very low chance of getting pinched, and reckon it's a slap on the wrist, you know, until you get to the point where you've been caught so much.
Even if you're coming out with on parole or whatever it is, it's not that bad.
Yeah, it's not that bad, bro. You're going to go back to jail, but like I said, instead of years, you're going to go back for a few months.
Right.
Like, to me, the whole point, like, there's so many dudes, right, like a lot of writers, and that included, who were so institutionalised now, bro, all from that time, right? And for me, the whole point was always to stay out of jail. You know what I mean? You're going to be doing shit, but there's a lot of dudes now, mate, they think it's like a fucking badge of honour, you know? Oh, I've done X amount of years, I've done X amount of years.
It's X amount you've wasted.
Exactly, bro. Like I said, the whole point's not to get caught, you know? And these dudes, like, in there, they actually consciously think of it like this. That's home. When they get released, out here, it's a holiday. To go sick, run amok, fucking burn yourself down to nothing, and then go home and do it all again in a couple of years, you know? Yeah. Like, that's it, bro. And like I said, man, if there's one thing I want to say is that, like, it can happen so easily, bro. Like, I was someone who swore I would never use, like, hard drugs, blah, blah, blah. And I was, out of everyone, I'm talking, like I said, you know, there was the core crew, but then all these fucking, I guess, associates and outsiders started gravitating, you know, for whatever reason. And out of all of them, I was probably one of the last to actually get on it. Yeah, like, because I always swore I never would, but I did. Yeah, you know, and it all started incrementally, you know, fucking from 12 to the speed, and then from that to that, you know.
And that's the other thing. Once you get sort of locked up, you spend a couple of years in there, you get out, you'll go back to what you know. You can't just go get a normal job.
Exactly. And mate,
and that cycle continues.
That's exactly right. Like, I went through that cycle from, like, through the 90s for, like, at least 25 years, bro. 25 years off and on. Like, to where I couldn't hold a job, right? Because I'd come out, say, clean or whatever, I'd get a job, but, you know, the only people I know are people who are doing that, and try to stay away from them, but you can't. You know, you're going to see them and eventually fall back in. And also, like I said, going back to, this is back on the timeline when I was a kid, like, I think I did something from anxiety to a degree. Like, I just couldn't get my head around the concept of being trapped in a job for like 25 years or whatever. Like, when I work hard, bro. Yeah. Like, I'm always told that, yeah, but I just can't do the punctuality thing. I can't, like...
No. I think a lot of people are like that, though.
Yeah, I sort of look back and I see it as a form of anxiety, like, to where I freak out, just this thought of, fuck, am I going to be here in 10, 20 years, whatever, you know what I mean, doing the same shit, like, rah, rah. And I wish I did do that, you know, looking back, like, in a way, like, I wish I do. But on the other hand, like, I'm at a place now, like, I'll be honest with you, I still have my moments. Yeah, it's turned into a lifetime battle, bro. So if anyone who thinks they can dabble with it a little bit, whatever, you can't, bro. It's going to be a lifetime battle, literally, yeah? And, like, I still have my moments, but you got to take the W's, you got to take the wins where you get them, bro. Like, where I'm at now is the best I've been probably in my whole life, yeah? And my family can see that. Like, I haven't got no kids. Like, that's one thing I really regret. See, again, I missed out on that whole part of life, yeah? Because I made a conscious decision. I was always very careful because I thought, fuck, I can't even look after myself. How am I going to look after a kid? You know.
But that is a mature mindset, though, because there's a lot of people out there that are having kids that probably shouldn't be.
Yes,
you know?
they do not. That doesn't even enter the picture, bro. They don't care. You know, like, I've known some dudes who, you know, before they've died, they've had, like, literally 5, 10 kids of different chicks and just don't care, bro. You know?
No, that's irresponsible, man.
Yeah, and, like, another thing I want kids to know, bro, like, or younger people to know, you got mates in that, you go down that road, you better treasure them, mate, because they're all going to die. They're all going to die, or they're going to go to jail for, you're not going to see them, because once you go to jail, you're lost. Like, Graffiti was a bit different, because you go to jail, there's heaps of riders in there, just in the 90s. Yeah. So you know people, blah, 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 but your people on the outside, they forget about you, mate, you know. And, like what I was saying before, the 90s, FMC, KSA, like, CW, AC to a degree, became like jail crews. Yeah, like, pretty much PFK, like, all together in jail. Like, in the 90s, all the young cunts in jail want to be riders. Now they want to be bikies. Yeah, it's always something, you know, times change, yeah?
Yeah.
But the cool thing was, not cool, but as far as it goes in there, like probably mid to late 90s, the jails were bombed, bro. Like the insides. Like
With pens and stuff?
No, like markers, bro. Dudes, you get their
Really?
hands on markers, like out of the staff, fucking, you know,
yeah.
they rack them or fucking, they get their hands on them, mate.
Yeah.
Especially, there's like stick ups, Nemo, fucking all that, like, you know, Spark, FMC, like, yeah, like a lot of, especially Port Phillip and Fulham and all the cells in there, yeah, they were just bombed out, bro. So you could see, yeah, you could see, you know, who's been there, this and that, who's done what. Like the first time I met Nemo from CW was in the old Ringwood cells. Like, I forget what I was there for. And that was terrible, bro. It was, like I said, from the 1800s. It had like 2 rooms we were supposed to sleep in on these hard ledges. Walkway about this wide from me to you, and an open sewage drain through the middle where the shower water and that would run through, right?
Yeah.
And it got knocked down and redone maybe about 2 years after that. But yeah, that was the only good thing about it is it just looked like this. Like not with the paint obviously, but just markers just tagged out everywhere, you know.
But that's the thing, man, with this whole graph crew and camaraderie. It's great from a respect, but then also people can take it in the wrong direction real quickly because you're
Real
already
quickly,
doing
bro.
it. Yeah.
And as I said to you, I'll say it again. I've said it 5 times before. The transition is you don't even see it happening.
Yeah.
Because the lifestyle is so similar, right? And you know, like with hindsight, of course, I got a mad adrenaline rush from graph. Most dudes do, right? Look, most dudes who are into it are built that way. You know, they're gonna, if it's not graph, they're gonna be doing something else of the sort. You know, and that just got replaced with the drug lifestyle. And like I said, the transition was fucking unnoticeable, bro. I can't stress that enough. It was literally unnoticeable because I was doing the exact same things I was doing as a writer, right? Like seeing the same people, this until they started dying off, that is, and getting locked up. But like going to the same places, doing the same things, wearing the same clothes, racking the same shit, just more. But instead of graph, it was for dope, you know?
And then I guess when you have these stints inside, then you come out, you start to see the next generation of riders, and the next generation, I guess for you specifically, you're paying attention to FMC, the new generation. It must be, I guess, somewhat cool to come out and see, oh, what are these new guys since I've been in? What are they doing now?
Yeah, like that's what I was kind of, we had a bit of word earlier, like I always, even when I sort of went through this little phase where I cracked the sads because of all the jail politics and this one didn't like that one and why is he getting let in the crew and blah, blah, blah. But I trusted the judgment of dudes like Brace and Croc and that. Like they're not going to let no toys in, this and that, you know what I mean? And as I said, because I was still on the trains a lot and that, I could see exactly what was going on where everyone was at, bro. You could watch someone's whole career just by if you knew what you were looking at, just by looking at their pieces and their tags and that. You can see them as they peak. You see them, you can tell by what's going on with their style when they've hit the dope or whatever. You can see them getting sloppier, falling off. You know, you see their output get less
Seems
and
to be
less.
a similar pattern there, though, doesn't there?
Yeah, but like I said, you don't even have to know them, but you can, if you know what you're looking at, you can see exactly what's going on, bro.
Yeah.
You know, like you just by literally reading the writing on the wall, as they say, you know.
Yeah.
And like it's the same today, man. Like you got kids have got so much more to, which is a great thing, man. Like to do, as in, you know, the internet, video games, you name it. You know, there's professional like things like skateboarding, BMXing, blah blah blah. Even graph to a degree, you know. Like
There's people make a career out of it.
yeah, exactly. Like, bro, if the platforms that are around now were around when I was a kid, I would. I'm telling you, not just me, probably 80% of writers, because most of them of that first generation were like highly intelligent dudes, bro. And not to mention artistic, obviously, but highly intelligent, yeah? Mate, I would have been a millionaire by the time I was 25, 30, I guarantee you. 30 at the latest. If we had the platforms today of back then, I guarantee you, mate. Like
Just use them to your
100%.
advantage. Yeah.
Yep, and the focus I put into all these negative things, like if I had like all these tools that they have now, like I guarantee you, we would have all done so well. You know, that's why I really admire dudes like, you know, like Murder, for instance. You know, Peril to a degree, Ransom, even Gus. He had in here the other day. You know, like he's been fraud, but he still gets out there, pieces, this and that. You know, and like dudes like Murder, Ransom, this and that, mate. It's like what I said about Esky and Dyer, to be amongst it all and keep, you know, they had a few more things going for them, you know, art school, this and that, and like kids from the suburbs, but they did so well, bro. Yeah. And they kept up with it. They've done so much for the scene. Puzzle is another one. Like, he's a king, and he's kept himself clean. He's fucking done so much for the graph scene, bro. And like, you know, and look at like how much he contributed, not just with his output, but like books, clothes, this and that, and he's still doing it, you know. And like, I so much respect to dudes like that, bro. And I wish that, as far as graph goes, I wish I was one of them. That I could have done it all and not gone down the other road. You know?
Well, it's like anything, isn't it? It's like it's cool, and you can push something so far, but once you go over the edge, you're over the edge.
Yeah,
it's
bro.
about knowing how far to take it, and that's what Gar said last week. And he's obviously a couple of generations younger, but he said to the kids, he's like, stay there, do your graph, do what you got to do, but you don't need to do the crime and the drugs.
Yeah, exactly.
Which sounds preachy, but that's coming from someone who did do the crime and the drugs.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm that person too. Like like I said, on the one hand, I regret a lot, but on the other hand, sitting here right now, I'm happy with the person I am. Right? Like about 3 weeks ago, I saw my cousin who I haven't seen in years, right? And she was randomly going out with this dude that I used to hang out with just before I got into graph, you know, and I was like a young teenager. And, you know, she told him briefly about my goings on from my life to jail and this and that. And he asked me, you know, like, I can't remember his exact words, but how do you feel about this? And, you know, did you fuck up your life? Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, but on the other hand, I got to see a side of life that very few people do. You know, like fucking, I don't know what people's spiritual beliefs are, this and that, how many times, whether you're going to get to come back here or not, this and that. But on the one hand, it made me the person I am. But on the other hand, I would much rather be someone who can function in society, right? Someone who can hold down a job, someone who had a family. Like, I love kids, bro. I love kids, and kids love me, you know? Like, luckily, my mum got remarried, and so I had a little brother and sister. So that kind of filled the void a little bit, you know, like when I was like around there, you know, like living there off and on, whatever. But like, I've missed out on so much because of that. I'm not exaggerating one bit when I say it's a lifetime battle, bro, which literally, you know, it sounds so cliche, like one day at a time, blah, 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 but like it literally is, bro.
Yeah.
Like I said, I can't, even now, I've got a car sitting in the driveway. I had to get a fucking Uber here today. You know what I mean? Because I can't, I don't have my license at the moment, but when I drive, pretty much every time I fall back into it, bro. It just makes it too easy for me. It's too easy to make money. It's too easy to get around on road. It's too easy to go score with a car. So, like, I've literally, little things like that, I fucking had to make a conscious decision to stop driving.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? Because that's how I fucking stay safe for another day. You know?
Yeah, that's full on, man. So it's like you're self-regulating yourself.
Yeah. Like, I've been through, and now, this is back in my day, yeah, now it's even more, bro. If you go down this road, you're going to go through every fucking bit of counselling, legal shenanigans, this, that, the other, and psychologists and this and that, because, you know, they do. They give you every chance before you start doing hardcore jail, especially if you just, like I said, mainly rack and shit like that, yeah. They give you every chance, you know, to try to clean you up, especially if you're young, yeah. So I went through it all, every psychiatrist, psychologist, this and that, but you get to it definitely works for some people, but for me personally, like, I had to get there myself and know what I had to do to fucking not trigger myself. You know what I mean? And as I said, to this day, I still have my moments, but I'm at a good place right now, you know, and it literally has been a lifetime battle, bro. Yeah. And I don't regret it, even though graph took me to that place. I don't regret that part of it. Yeah, the graph part of it. You know, because that was like, honestly, looking back, that was the most awesome time of my life, right? But be careful, man. Like, even now, like I said, I'm on the train nearly every day because, you know, I choose not to drive most of the time. Like, I see it, mate. I see dudes might start off with a tag or throwies, this and that, and they might go on a full-on mad bombing run for 6 months, 12 months, and I see them getting sloppier and sloppier. I see them fucking writing about their antics on the wall, fucking, oh, I'm pissed, fucking, I'm driving anyway, blah, 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 shit like that, you know, and you just see them drop off, mate.
Yeah.
And you can, through just looking at tags and pieces, I can see what's happening to them, you know, and it fucking breaks my heart, man.
With the younger generation of kids that you talk to through the graph stuff, do you tell them face to face, don't do what I fucking
Yeah,
do,
bro.
stay off it?
Yeah, bro. Like about a week ago, this kid was on a school excursion to the old Russell Street jail. Yeah, you know, they preserved a bit of it.
Mm-hmm.
And he sent me a pic. There was a FMC fucking scratchy in the wall, right? And he sent me a pic and he goes, oh, I'm here with the excursion with me school and fucking look what I saw. And I was fucking spun out, you know, I'll show it to you after. But in the message, I told him, you know, oh, yeah, fucking nice find, bro, but believe me, that was the lowest point of my life. You know, that was the shittest time of my life. Like, because he was kind of not like thinking it was a good thing, but he was like a bit excited, you know.
Yeah.
And I was like, bro, there's nothing to get excited about, mate. Like, honestly, I can tell you that was probably the lowest. You know, I didn't do that particular scratchy, but I'd been sitting in that watch house that many times before they fucking closed it down. I told him straight up that was the shittest time in my life, bro. You know?
And there's nothing to glorify about that shit.
Nah, not at all, man. And that's why I've come here today, Maloney. Like, you know, like I said, my graph run was 2-3 years, whatever it was, and I just happened to be in that golden period. You know, like I didn't start nothing, I didn't kick nothing off. Yeah, I came up with a name, grouse name, blah blah blah, but I was there.
Yeah.
You know, and I wouldn't trade that for anything, bro.
Mm-hmm.
But like in the graph scene to this day, and I think it's the same all over the world, mate. That other thing is always right on your shoulder, mate.
Mm-hmm.
It's always right there, ready to grab you. You know, like it's just the nature of the scene.
Yeah.
It's the nature of the beast, mate. You know, like I said, you are on trains, you are at stations, you are out and about all the day. You are going to come into contact with it, right? And it at the start, it's as exciting as graph, if not more, right? But it quickly turns to fucking horror, mate. You know, like I got to a point, bro, late 90s or whatever, early 2000s, I had to make a conscious decision to stop going to funerals. Like I just got so over them, yeah. Like the only funeral I went to between like 2001 2010 was when Jags died in 2008 or 9, I think it was. They went up to Queensland to dry out, and he's got his housemate to send him up some gear, and because his parents lived up there, and he's drowned in the fucking bathtub, mate. He's nodded off and drowned in the bathtub, and he was my best mate since we were like fucking 12 years old, you know?
Yeah.
And I flew up to Queensland for his funeral and that, and that's when it all turned around for me, bro, around that time. That's when I was living in Collingwood.
Yeah.
And I had a couple of like grow houses going, this and that, and you know, I'd been living my whole life like that, you know. And it was just after the Kingsway launch, the book.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember on the way home, I laid like one tag because I took a marker home from the signing. Just that one tag, bro. People were like, "Fucking, oh my god!" And I was like, "What the hell?" It was like spun me out, mate. But anyway, yeah, like that's when it turned around for me, bro. Like just out of the blue, I started freaking out, man. I couldn't sleep. I started getting paranoid. Like I got this thing. There's actually a medical term for it. It's called hypervigilance, where you can't, every time, you know, when you drift off and you get that jump, like literally for like 4, nearly 5 years, bro, I didn't sleep for more than half an hour at a time. And like I wake up, like my doctor actually told me, in his experience, people who've copped that badly either end up knocking themselves because, you know, from no sleep, or they end up in a psych ward or with a brain aneurysm or some shit, You know, like that's how bad I got that. It's like everything that 25 years, 30 years of living that way, it was normality for me, bro. I did not blink an eye. You know, it just out of the blue because like I was in like a real long relationship with this grouse chick who to a big way is responsible for me still being alive today. But I moved to Collingwood because I was DJing at the time, so I got a place in Collingwood because, you know, Smith Street and that, I was getting a few gigs up there, this and that. But we split up maybe 6 months after I moved up there, so... And once the novelty wears off of living there, I hated it, bro. I was there by myself. I hated it.
If you're trying to stay away from heroin, man,
oh, bro,
Smith Street, Collingwood's not the place to be.
Yeah, and Victoria Street, Richmond, I was like 3 minutes walk from there, you know, over fucking Johnson Street, this and that, yeah. And once all that shit started happening, right, the only thing that fucking, you know, where I could get some sleep in that was if I'd go out and fucking get some heroin. Yeah, and in the city, it was 24/7, even back then, you know, and so I fell right back into it again, bro. And then in 2013 or 14, I think I got locked up again, and only when I went back to jail, I started sleeping again, because I actually felt safe in there, you know, believe it or not, like fucking, because used to it, you know, people...
That's the institutionalisation again, though, isn't it?
To a point, yeah, you know, I got no dramas really with anyone, like fucking, like, yeah, I actually started getting, you know, like me sleeping patterns back, this and that.
There's routine in there more, so...
Yeah, and I, like I said, nothing in particular, I don't even know what it was, bro, just everything just crept up on me, you know, and like my records, for instance, right, I had like probably as much records as you. Right, bro, like 900,000 records or something like that, yeah? Like, that's one more old story. That's also how the racket started big. Like, the first central station was in the city square, right?
Yeah.
And they had a glass front and a glass door at the end, right where the hip-hop section was, and a gap under the door.
Which was a design flaw by their behalf,
yeah, a gap about that big, right, under the door. So one of us would sit outside with the big bomber jacket, and the other one would just... kick out the records, mate, you know, and like, man, out of me, however many records I had, probably 90% of them were like racked. Yeah, like,
where'd they end up?
Bro, when I was living in Collingwood, like I said, and everything started falling apart, like I started selling them off bit by bit for basically
Dixon's
nothing.
Records,
Northside, right?
Northside, yeah.
And he gave me decent money, but like, you know, I was fucking in a desperate sort of situation, and it got to the point where I didn't intend to do this, but one day I left my joint and I never went back, bro. Full of new furniture, fucking wardrobes full of clothes, fucking probably half my record collection left, fucking set of decks, fucking everything. Went to Dandy one day, just never went back to Collingwood, bro. And it bothered me for a little while, but looking back on it now, it needed to be done. I had to close that chapter in my life, man. You know, like... as I said, I never intended that, but yeah, like I left, got locked up for a little bit. You know, my place was still there when I got out, but I just never went back. Like fucking just left everything. I literally thousands of dollars worth of shit, but me records and that, just that whole thing, bro. As much as I love hip hop and that, you know, like it became like this anchor around my fucking neck. You know what I mean? Like. Every time I think of moving, this and that, I'd have to fucking pack shit up, and it was a constant reminder. And like I said, bro, I'd watch literally everyone I cared about die, you know, fucking the last 15, 20 years. Like murdered, OD'd, fucking, like so many dudes I know got like...
So what was it that was different about that one? Like, is it because it was your best mate? Like,
I don't think it was even just that. Maybe subconsciously it was, but it just happened to be... I don't know if the fucking stars aligned or whatever, bro, but just that time in my life, just so much things changed. You know, like I said, just there was that. There was coming out of a long-term relationship. I got a flat in a joint I hated, first time in years. I'd moved out of the hood, you know, just a whole new thing. And also being with a chick for like 12 years, and she was a straight chick, yeah, like when I met her, she was... dealing on Russell Street. She was a bit younger than me, but just falling into it. And I sort of got her, we got together, got her back in school, fucking her, and she straightened out. I did too, but I kept going around in circles, And if it wasn't for her, bro, I'd be dead. But anyway, long story short, we broke up. So coming out of that, I crashed and burned, and doctors started prescribing me fucking all these Xanax and antidepressants and all this shit, and it just made things worse, bro.
It's replacing one drug with another.
Yeah.
Which is okay to get you off it, but it's not for long-term shit.
Yeah, exactly. And like even methadone, right? Like that shit, I know dudes, even myself, bro, over the years I've been on it for decades off and on, and I will say, as you said, it's not meant to be long-term, blah, 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 but if it wasn't for that shit, I'd be dead. And there's another thing, look at that, I have to fucking drag myself to a chemist, at the start for the first 6 months till you prove yourself reliable. You've got to drag your ass to the chemist 7 days a week just to fucking take a sip of a cup, you know what I mean?
And then after that, they let you take a bottle.
Yeah, you get takeaways, they start you on 1 or 2, and then I think the max they give most people is 5 or 6 a week, so you're just going once a week, which is doable, And that shit, I'll tell you honestly, it did save my life, So if anybody is in that boat, don't not consider it out of hand.
So how do people that may not even know this, what do they go to the GP and do that?
You go to, only certain GPs are allowed to prescribe it. Right, but you just go online or whatever, and there's a list of GPs that can prescribe it, or you ring, I think it's a drug helpline, and they will set it all up for you. They'll get you an appointment, they'll fucking, ask you where you live, blah, blah, blah. And it is very chockers, because like I said, the heroin, it has kicked off a lot again. Right.
It's gone in a wave where...
Yeah, it's nothing like it was in the 90s and that, but it was mate, up till about 6 months ago in Springvale, right, there was one new dope house there, and some days I'd walk past it, there'd be the owner of the flats was in on it, so he was letting these dudes use one of the flats, and they were dealing from the back flat, right, the queue would stretch out the fucking driveway around into the alleyway like that, pretty much fucking all day, bro, right? And Springvale was just turning into like it was in the 90s, man. I remember I went overseas in 97 to try to clean up, just for that summer. When I came back, it was like I walked into a movie, bro. Dead set. It was like you could cut the air with a knife, man. It just that summer. And then in 2000, there was a big drought. Thank God I was locked up through it, right? Because when I went in, dope had got that cheap. It was $20 a cap, right? Down from 50, 100, whatever. And back then, 2 people could have that and get off there. And all of a sudden, massive bust in Fiji, this, that, the other. Massive heroin drought, yeah. And dudes who had to get up, say, $100, $200, $300 a day, suddenly they've got to get up 1,000, 2,000, to get the same.
Crime goes through the roof.
Through the roof, bro. We're watching it at the first, on the news and that at night. In the first month or two, people are coming in telling this, none of us believed them, mate. Telling us the prices people are paying for X amount.
Supply and demand.
Scarcity, it was utter crap. When I got out from that sentence, it was still the tail end of it. It wasn't even gear, but people were paying through the nose for it, mate. And that's when the ice started kicking off. Right. To that drought. That's when it picked up. And I remember saying, so many people coming up to me after that sentence and saying, "Oh, I'm off the gear, I'm just on the ice, blah, blah, blah." I remember saying, bro, in a couple of years, when the evidence is in, people are going to wish it was the heroin days, bro.
Well, that's the thing. From someone who grew up in an area that was pretty heroin heavy, people would get on the nod and they'd kind of just sit there and they weren't fucking things up. The dudes that get on fucking ice are charging around ready to fight everybody. Yeah. And that's scary.
Going spastic, and even a lot of the stuff I see on the news and that, some fucked up thing had happened, and I know straight away, I bet you that was some cool cunt who did that, you know what I mean?
And people, you see them, they'll talk about it and they'll say, "Man, I was up for 5 days. I don't know what I was doing. I wasn't in the same sort of..." Yeah. And that'll be their defence sort of thing.
Yeah, because I seen it before with the speed, bro, when I was a kid. That's similar, total upper. I seen what that did to people. Same thing, and I said, mate, you wait till, as I said, the evidence is in. Yeah. You're going to wish it was the other instead of that, As much as people had to do crime and that to get the heroin, but I'm telling you, and again, this is another, like, I don't want to be preachy and shit, but ice is, as we all know, it's so accessible, right? And because most people smoke it, it seems like nothing, you know, big deal. You know, I've seen like 12-year-old, 11-year-old kids getting into it, nothing, but believe me, bro, that shit will, with the heroin, if you can survive and get the other end, which 95% won't, you're pretty much guaranteed to die or rot in jail, you can get your health back, right? And you probably still have your wits. But with the ice, once your mind's gone, doesn't matter if you get off it, bro, your mind is never coming back. You are gone for good. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So, like, take heed. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, so many kids think it's just a toke on the fucking, you know, it's not, bro.
And I'm guessing in prison it's so normal because so many people they end up in there because they've got the drug addiction. So is it just the norm in there?
It is, but that's a good question, actually. That's another thing. Like, one of the last times I've gone in for a bit, when I told you before when I wasn't sleeping, but I started that time, yeah?
Which was over 10 years ago.
Yeah, but that was the first time in, like, about 5 or 6 years that I'd come back, yeah? And the last time I'd come in, it was still basically everyone's in there for heroin. Like, in the 90s, early 2000s, the court system was that fucking chockers. You'd have to wait, like Dandenong cells, for instance, right? It's got like 3 cell blocks that holds like 30 people each, 40 people each, put them on the floor. They'd be chockers, bro. You go in there, it'd be like, you know, and you'd have to wait in there for like a month, 2 months to get out to a jail. So it was so full, yeah? And you go there now, there's like maybe 3 people in the whole joint, you know, like last time I went in anyway. But when I did that sentence in 2013, whatever it was, I mean, jail is the lowest of the low places as it is, right? But with all the ice heads in there now, it was, and please, I don't mean to be insulting anyone, but it was the worst, bro. Like, with the heroin, right, like I said, because you learned the trade on the street, you know, it had rules, it had fucking, not the heroin itself, just street life.
Ethics to it.
Street life, yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, like with graph, you know, you got to know your way around this and that, right? But your average ice head is just a normal person who's worked a job, and falling into it. Next thing you know, they're ripping off their wife or their mum or their family and doing fucking, like that dude who robbed their house and got in through the window and happened to be in the baby's room. Instead of leaving or whatever, what comes to his mind, fucking smother the baby, mate, you know, shit like that. Remember that? About 2 or 3 years ago, yeah. Yeah, like, you know, just not thinking right, you know what I mean? But, as I said, jail is the lowest of the low, but that was the time that where I said to myself, I'm never, ever coming back here, mate. Like, no one even came out and socialised anymore. Like, before, people would come out, have a smoke, talk, do laps, whatever, yeah? Like, none of that. The whole culture changed. There was no code, nothing, bro. Nothing.
And you attribute that to ice being the prominent reason why people are in there?
Absolutely. There's a whole different a whole different strata of society in there. You still got your old heads here and there, you know what I mean? But your average drug offender at that time anyway, maybe it's a bit different now, I don't know, right? But your average drug offender was, like I said, just your normal civilian who fell into the ice and come in and they know nothing, mate. Like, all the things that used to be like no-nos, you know, like sitting and chilling out with fucking guards and fucking being friendly with them and shit like that, and, you know, just small things.
Because I get you. Because these people might just be corporate dudes who end up falling into this habit, breaking the rule, and they don't know the code of the streets.
Yeah, or just normal suburban dudes, whatever. But the thing is, that's even on the streets. That's how it is now. Yeah. You know, it's those people who learn nothing. You know.
Is there help for drug addiction in there? Do they teach you
about
there
is. There's you can do, you know, like drug education classes, blah blah blah, and also depending on length of your sentence, you know, you can get different like fucking qualifications, you know, like you can do like counselling, whatever, blah blah blah. You know what I mean? So yeah, there is, you know, like a lot of people do it just to kill time and this and that. Like, you know, some people make a go of it, but yeah, there is. You know? And if you want to be serious about it, it's a good way to kill time in there too, you know?
Yeah. Which is the whole term killing time. It's only something that should happen in prison, because outside in the real world, you want to make the most of it.
Yeah, bro. You know? And like I said, that now, right, I will say it's a lot better. Like, before, mate, people talk about, you know, you paid your debt to society, you should be able to come out and, you know, have a go, blah, blah. Nah, once you had that mark next to your name, you're getting nothing, mate. No job, no nothing, you know, as soon as they run your name. But now I must say that it's changed a lot. Like there's a lot of organisations and that now that specialise, they go out of their way to help people in that position, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like a lot of Christian organisations and other things that like, and even the way people think now, it's different, bro. Like it's seen as a kind of discrimination, you know what I mean? Like, there's always going to be people and places that die in a barrier, but there is a lot more opportunity now. And even what I was saying before about the police, right? Even that's changed for the positive, right? Like how they used to beat people and torture people and shit, right? Like that's totally changed now, bro. They're more educated now. It's not like the big bully boys who got bullied at school and came out and took it out on the fucking world, you know what I mean? Like they're so different, bro. Like I rarely hear of people getting bashed and shit anymore. Like seriously, like last time I got interviewed by Serious Jacks cops, which was the Piranha Task Force in about 2012. Like, bro, that was so nice to me. I thought the whole time I'm sitting there thinking, because it was the first time I'd been interviewed in like 5 years or something, yeah? I'm sitting there thinking, nah, this is a strategy, you know what I mean? They're just trying to get me to open up or whatever. And at the end, and this dude was dead serious, mate. He goes, nah, man, we're all about your human rights, fuck, and this and that now. And he was dead serious, mate.
Yeah. Well, I think people can see the bigger picture now, and they know that if you treat people that have broken the law as criminals, as second-class citizens, that's detrimental to everybody,
That's
including
exactly
that
right.
person.
That's exactly right. Even like I said, like caging people in a certain fashion, right? When I first started, and it was the old style jails, and that it was literally caged up like animals, yeah, like literally, and people acted like animals, bro. It was fucking hard. That's when it was before. Pretty much everyone in there was in there for dope. That was like they were generational crims, you know, just real hard dudes, you know, like, and that's all they knew, bro. You know, but since they kind of built the new jails, this and that, like you'll always get your people saying, "Oh, I wish I was at Pentridge." Sure, mate. You know, sure. But things have changed a lot for the better, man. I will say that. So there are options now. You know what I'm saying? Like, mate, if you're gonna get into graph and that, go for your life. Like I said, I'm so enjoying being on Insta, having this window into the world, seeing who's doing what, especially seeing a few old heads still fucking, you know, kicking it out there, or even heads from the 90s and that, you know, who were maybe one or two generations behind me, like killing it. You know, and there's like a worldwide scene and shit. So yeah, do your graph, fucking go sick, level up, fucking get better, you know.
But do positive shit.
Yeah, do positive shit, bro. You don't even have to rack paint anymore, blah, blah, blah. Everything's tailor-made now, bro. You can go out and buy the sickest colours, every nozzle you want, everything is gettable, bro, you know? And, like, through the only positive thing, or not positive, but thing that's sort of worked out all right for me in the last, since I sort of got away from the crime, is I got into crypto at a sort of decent time, yeah? Nice. So I didn't like, kill it, but done a little bit all right, you know? So, like, that's what I'm saying, there's opportunity. You know, that's just as an example. But, yeah, you don't just know if you get into graft, there's going to be drugs. There's going to be the temptation of crime. There's going to be dudes saying, still even now, saying, oh, what, you buy your paint? Fucking rah, rah. Tell them to get fucked, mate. You know what I mean? You do you. You don't need to impress no one. There's no one's fucking... It's like when that whole 3174 thing was happening, right? I kind of cringe at that now, bro. A lot of people still talk about that. That was a highlight of their fucking life, right? It's the most cringy ass shit, bro. Like, we were young and dumb. We thought we were like the hardest dudes in the city, you know, little fucking 17, 18-year-olds, right? But then as you start getting into the world, going to jail, seeing the real hard dudes, you know, it was a fucking joke, mate. It was just a little kiddie thing, you know what I mean? And, like, don't believe the hype. You know what I'm saying? And even, you know, you meet a lot of older dudes, this and that. They don't want to hear it, mate. They don't want to see you fucking trying to act like a hard cunt and fucking being something you're not. They'll accept you more, like, just be you. That's why I love dudes like Fosco, Graham, fucking, you know, like, just as an example, right? them two dudes, right? Fucking killer writers, yeah. And it's the first time I met them both, just themselves. No trying to act hard, no nothing. And me as a person, I'll give you respect straight away, mate. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you let you work through the talking.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, like that's always been like a pet thing for me from now. And as I get older, even worse, bro. Like these people who, it was never that, you know? Like that, it's like they think I'm going to be impressed or something because they're fucking pulling out their piece and showing me this and that. Like, fucking, I hate that shit, bro. Yeah. I fucking hate it. I wish.
If anything, it's going to make you like them less because
yeah,
you're like, mate, take it easy. I'm just
chilling. And like, all right, you're doing that, each to their own, but fucking how dumb are you? You just met me and you're fucking showing me shit like this, you know what I mean? Just to fucking impress me, you know what I mean? Like, and not just me, like older dudes in general. Yeah. You know, that's how a lot of young cunts act these days, bro.
It's not what it's about.
Nah.
So FMC's been going for what, almost 40
FMC
years
is hitting its, I think, I would say 2026. It's hitting 40 years, right? When it was named, like I started bombing maybe I think late 85 if I remember correctly, but FMC as a name was 86. Like I'm pretty sure.
So 40 years, man. That's got to be pretty cool to have been there for that.
Yeah,
and
bro.
to see this sort of next generation. Hip hop's only been around for 50 years.
I know. And like, yeah, that's, like I said, that's the part of my life. Like, I don't know if proud's the right word, but I'm happy to have been a part of it, you know?
Yeah.
And while we're on this topic, I've got to give a shout out to Brace. Like like I said, it was about maybe 2017, 2018. Like at that time I was going through me, you know, tail end of me shit. Last thing on my mind is what was going on with the crew, this and that. And this was part of him getting himself back together as well. Like he tried to get the crew back together, which he did, you know, and they kicked off, started piece, like, you know, mostly legals and that. Started piecing again, getting together, getting dudes in touch again, shit like that. That's how he even found me, mate, you know? Yeah. I was fucking missed in action, bro. Everyone's, mate, people don't see me for a year, they think I'm dead. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's just how, but yeah, especially after that episode, bro, I disappeared for ages, you know, like.
Probably you needed to, though.
Yeah, I needed to change that book. But like I said before that, nothing stopped me, mate. Like, even, I'll tell you one story with this while I was bombing, yeah. I was coming home from the city, and do you know what Rohypnol is? It's like like a lot of, there was this stage where that shit was everywhere. This is when I first started using. I was on them and using as well, so I've nodded off and fell asleep right to packing them. Right, so I totally missed Dandy stop. It was the last train. Getting off the train in that state of mind is me thinking, oh, I can walk back to Dandy, right, just straight up the train line. I've got like, I don't know, maybe 200 metres and just dropped on the tracks. Saturday night, no trains, right? I was fucking laying there from, what's the last train, 1 o'clock, till like the fucking sun was up. It was summer, so it would have been like 5 hours, bro, on the tracks. All it would have taken was one freight to come through. I would have been fucking dead. Yeah, and I didn't bat an eye, bro. I just, you know, things like that would happen to me all the time, man. You know, did not bat an eye. It didn't bother me. It was just life, you know. And like, yeah, but the day comes, mate, where it'll just creep up on you and fucking, mate. Some people do not. I thank everyone and everything there is to thank that I'm still sitting here, bro. Mm-hmm. You know, and like I said, I usually knock these things back, but that's why I came here today, man. Like.
Yeah, I appreciate you talking to me, man. Like, because you've been fucking really honest.
Yeah, man. Like I said, I've rarely told. There's a couple of people who know, you know, the story bits, and you know, and I've only sitting here now. I've only touched on fucking 10% of it, bro. I know. You know, and like, but it needs to be said, you know, because I do see that side a lot where that lifestyle's glamorized. You know, the whole fucking criminal fucking thing. There's nothing to glamorise, bro. Yeah. You know, cunts rocking around in there, you know, 10 grand worth of clothes and fucking this and that, and they're doing this, doing that, you know, like there's nothing to glamorise, bro. Yeah. I don't give a fuck. One last thing I'll say.
Yeah.
You might, mate, and I've been like this, right? You might be up for 2 years, mate. You might be rolling in the money, right? But the day's going to come where you got nothing. nothing. You're going to be like me. You got to force yourself to not even drive. You know what I'm saying? Like, fucking, and that day will come. I don't give a fuck who you are. Either you will die or that day will come. I guarantee you.
The moral of the story is crime doesn't pay.
Crime doesn't pay, bro. And the moral of the story is, if you're going to be a graffiti artist, probably out of anything, that's the closest thing in the orbit of crime, of real hard crime. And that's no joke. Like, I can't think of nothing else that orbits around the criminal world as closely as graph.
It touches on it in bits, yeah.
Yeah, in like many, many ways, bro. Many ways. Like, you know, everyone, and now because it's been a few generations, everyone knows someone who's doing this, doing that, or been there, done that. Like, you got to tread carefully, mate. You know?
For sure.
Yeah.
Man, we could talk all day.
Yeah, bro.
It's great. It's great.
I just realised how long it's been, man.
It's been almost 3 hours. The only reason,
shit.
The only reason why we'd have to wrap it up is I do have to pick up my son, man.
Yeah, bro. I was about to say 2 hours.
It's been almost 3.
Fuck. So, yeah, it's me getting away. But, man, last thing, it needed to be said, bro. Thank you for the opportunity, for letting me come in here and spit this shit out. And I hope even one thing I've said is going to help even one person, man. Like, fucking just be careful out there, people. Fucking peace.